what's good? What's happening? Hope everyone is doing well. Is the sound good? Well, I have this thing muted, so.
Is like pretty reliable way to res.
Put it about here.
As one of the key skill sets on Guardian and Revenant.
And here's a really cool tech you can actually do if you just focus on the bottom right with
anyway.
Radiance. He was about to get that Madness proc in, uses his ultimate.
Yeah, so I played Nightreign. It's a good game. I don't mind it. Pretty cool. I can't play it just yet. Not allowed to play it until when it comes out. I'm gonna play it on stream. Like I can play it whenever I want to, but yeah, not on stream. Until they let me. So we're gonna be reacting instead. We're just gonna react to this live stream event thingy. Then I'm gonna go watch other people's reviews because I haven't seen other people's reviews yet. So yeah, we're gonna be doing that. Why is my... That's bright as fuck. Stop being bright. That's blinding me. Stop that. That made it worse. Better. No. Good enough. Whatever. Whatever. Can the Night Lord bosses be consistently hitless? You could probably no-hit them, yeah. They're probably just as like difficult to no-hit as some of the Shadow of the Erdtree bosses, I'd say. Like some of them have some pretty crazy attacks. Especially the final one. Final one has like a bunch of like just random like AoE spawning and kind of like low damaging AoEs though, so it's like the worst thing. But for no hit running, obviously, it is kind of the worst thing. Anyway. Did they just revive themselves? They probably cleared out that, I think two of them had that. Fair enough. Level one runs sound awful. Level 1 runs sound really, really bad. Am I directing the Elden Ring movie? Yeah. What's the weapon that the Revenant starts with? It's like some, like, spectral claws. They're pretty slow, but, like, they look really cool. But, like, you know, as soon as you find, like, another weapon, you just switch out of it. But they're pretty cool, though. Luagi finished level 15 with 160,000 runes. Yeah, I had a couple of solo runs where I finished level 15. There actually is like last time I did it is when I got some there's like some in-game event where you get invaded by a particular Night Lord boss, and if you kill it, you get like so many like boosted runes. So if that event happens, it's pretty much guaranteed level 15. What makes Iron Eye busted? Bows actually output decent damage. You have infinite ammo, and he has a skill that can boost, that can debuff enemies to boost the damage. And after a certain amount of time, we can just after like consistently hitting like the weak spot or like that debuff, you can do like some insane amount of damage with consecutive hits. And he has like an ultimate that like can be the highest damaging ultimate in one hit at least in the game. Yeah. And then, like, there's some relic abilities out there to when you switch your weapon, it actually boosts your damage. So, like, I made this build of the Iron Eye where I just constantly switch my weapon over and over again. And you don't have to two-handed bow. You can just leave it one-handed the entire time. So, I just kept switching, damage boost, keeps, you know, just firing off. And as soon as I ran out of stamina, I just switched to my next bow. And there's so many buffs that you end up getting, especially when you're playing Iron Eye, that just boost ranged attacks. Like... I had this run where I ended up finding like 5 weapons, or like 3 or 4 weapons that ended up giving me like 12% damage boosts to ranged attacks. And I just have them equipped. And you just benefit by just having them equipped. And yeah, it's just broken. You can just sit at a safe distance and just do good damage. And the thing is like, it's not like Elden Ring, how like the projectiles have like small little hitboxes. Like they actually have some inherent tracking as well with these bow and arrows. It's kind of crazy. Like it's very easy to hit. Yeah, their guys are getting cooked.
One free res on the field though. Okay, so Team Grey still in the fight, but one man trying to solo this one out. Such a scary spot to be.
The executor.
Down to one person.
This is when you pull out the cursed sword and go for some big parry.
Yeah.
That's what you go for.
It's time for parry mode. But right now, Libra are gonna start stomping the ground.
I think my first one's gonna be the I'll make a executor guide video. That's probably the first one I'm gonna make. I might drop that tomorrow.
All the way up to just one Wilder with a tooth sword.
Probably drop that one tomorrow. The executor
Such
guide.
a tense fight and so much HP left. I mean, I feel like Team Purple is running really low on gas here.
How the fuck do you one-hand a bow? Well, like you can have it one-handed, and when you attack, it automatically, you know, does the animation. Is what I'm saying. So you have to have it two-handed just to use it.
Having them group up on the ground so that you're able to res them more easily, two at once.
What are Revenant's stats? She's like a Faith character. Faith Arcane-ish.
But with all three players alive, maybe there's a recovery here in the cards
Once
for Team Gray.
3 players are alive,
I mean, it's best going into like getting
Get out of that dangerous line.
what do you call it?
You get in time.
Like incantations, like getting building around seals. But like unlike Recluse, she doesn't like constantly regenerate FP. So you just gotta have some like relics and buffs out there that can give you some more FP or FP regen. Nightreign is fake, probably.
No death just yet.
They're down
I was a
so
Secular character. He's
close.
good. I mean, I'll talk about it
Struggling to
in my
make
next
more
video.
progress.
He's good.
Trying to hold this one on. Trying to get the teammates back in the
Unironically,
fight.
probably like the weakest part about him is the deflect.
That was
Defeat for Team
Unironically,
so far.
the deflecting part about him is probably the weakest part about the character.
oh gosh.
But the rest of his skins pretty good, except for the passive. That's kind of shit too.
Trying to see what they can do here.
Did you see every skin? Yeah.
Malvin trying his best to get the team back up. Maybe
But the deflect is still good. It's
just
decent.
walking into-
But yeah, the rest of his kit's kind of broken. Like the ult's the best in the game, and he can output the highest damage because he gets like broken scalings.
Oh, he needs to avoid it. Trying to go for the
And
res
like
up. I mean,
status effects kind of work a bit differently as well in this game.
Get this res.
It's really once your friends have been down a few times. Right?
I'll talk about it in the video.
Get 'em up.
Yeah.
Do you find the game playable? Well, I had 70 hours in it, and I'm still wanting to play more. So it's very playable enough.
Get your ultimate out and then try to wolf swing at
how many characters? There's 8
Maybe that would be enough.
as of right
Really,
now.
if you really wanted to go for it, you could try to get a parry strike that involved two
Any
of
new
them.
weapon types? No. There's nothing, no DLC weapons at all.
Here's the beast. Trying to get the
But
res
they're
up.
all currently in like they're all current patch now though. Like in the network test, they were playing like day 1 patch.
Let's listen in with Afro Central. They're up back in the fight. 3 players alive, looking to make the clutch.
There's 2 beasts. That's cool as hell.
2 dogs.
Oh, he got downed.
Well, one dog now.
One dog now.
Maybe he can get the res up while he's cleaving.
You can like get like stance broken in this form. It's pretty funny.
Has to be careful though, right?
Use the use a skill. Click the skill. Oh, I didn't get off in time.
This is great. If these guys pull out, if these guys pull
Did they know they can use a skill in the ultimate?
amazing.
They've still got some consumables to use as well.
Why do they give us these bosses? I feel like they're trolling us. Well, like the end of day bosses and stuff, or like the Night Lord bosses.
All pressure on him.
Because yeah, the end of day bosses are kind of shit.
Low HP, cannot afford to take a hit here.
Oh.
Tough loss there
that was
for Team Gray.
gosh, wow.
I mean, what a close one. That was one of our longer sessions overall for
Since the director has been chosen for the Elden Ring Nightreign movie, you are obligated to watch his entire filmography, then tier list it.
A little tougher than Gladiator.
How was Japan? I didn't go to Japan.
Mechanics, and it's a real endurance fight, right? If Libra starts getting those buffs
I
up,
didn't go to
you start
Japan.
getting that cycle of
They
trying to
just
res
gave
your teammates,
they
getting
gave me the
back up.
game
It's hard
to play.
stabilize
I played it
those
here in the
teammates.
comfort of my own home.
Really took control of the engagement.
Yeah.
Are there
No,
meta
absolutely.
teams?
When it comes to what we saw as well when
It depends on the Night Lord boss. Because like some Night Lord bosses, like, you know, they fly around a whole bunch and shit, and you kind of want more projectile attacks. So you might want to, like, you know, prioritize having like an Iron in your team or something. But like they're all pretty viable.
One more to go.
You got one more to go.
It goes crazy. Let's jump into this session though with Libra. Look
All
at some of
pretty
the highlights,
viable.
see exactly what went down
For like
some of
both
the teams,
solo
how
and
things went around. Jake, you got
multiplayer.
them up on your right side. I like that.
Yeah, I'm just,
I
you
think
know,
like the
some of
weakest, I don't know, it's like it's hard
the fans. We're gonna have to check out some of the highlights.
for some of them playing solo.
Starting off, you know, looks like
Like Revenant and Recluse solo are like the hardest characters to play.
thought about this happening to them.
Like for when I was doing all my solo runs, those are definitely the hardest to try and get a solo run off.
Really a strong point for
Because
them.
like they're so squishy, they have like a D scaling and HP, and they just die in like 2 hits.
In a run of Nightreign, it's not over. You
And
can
they
run
don't
out
really
there.
like,
There's
I don't know.
Yeah, they're it. Well, not always. but
Boing.
All the way up
It's
to,
hard.
you know, to the end of day 2. You can get
Drollmass,
back in
thank
the
you for the sub, man.
down, right? Like, you
Good
know, there's
W's
never-
for Drollmass with the
you're never out of
13
here,
months.
a little bit under-leveled for the bosses. You can clutch it out with great dodging, and we saw that here.
Easy wins. Look at
Really
that.
impressive performance by Team
2
Rocket,
flasks
making
left
this
and a
beat
dub.
out of Libra, and there's emerged kind of a clear group of front runners here in the competition. Team Bronze, definitely one of those here. with
Yeah,
all of the
whippy.
first bosses going down.
Yeah, I mean the biggest.
Do you enjoy the game?
we saw
I do
so
enjoy the
far
game, yeah.
On the second session is the variance, right? So some of these jails.
I think it's good.
Some of them
Right.
spawning like the Godskin duo, right? It went
Yeah.
crazy. And then at the
I
same
just this
time,
as I mentioned in the video,
We didn't even see that.
the bosses suck.
Commander out there.
yeah,
Like the
night
end
one
of day
boss
bosses
went
are just
crazy
like
with
mid.
Battlefield
There's
Commander.
not enough cool
On
Dark
the
Souls
castles
bosses. There's
too,
not enough Elden Ring
What's going on,
Remembrance bosses.
Yui?
We saw it this
Gang.
time, like, craziness
It is
with
what it is.
knights or
When will
trolls.
there be footage of the final boss? I'm allowed to drop footage of the final boss when the game gets released. I can't do it right now.
What your team wants to do, there's different elements to engage with all over the place.
Yeah, it's not even the way the Night 2 boss went down. There were some Crucible Knights with technical surprises.
Dino meme. Thank you for the prime sub, man.
And even more craziness with spiders in the fray. It was
Good W's for
unbelievable
Dino
take. This was,
for
I
the
think,
Prime
the
Gaming
ultimate test.
subscription.
So many more people failed
What a
this
guy.
one than Gladius.
Is Gladius the best boss? No, he's one of the weaker bosses. He's one of the
From the brink, but they were
worst
able to
bosses.
clutch it out on
He's still decent, but yeah.
incredibly low
I don't
HP,
like him that much.
which does get them kind of
My
back
favorite
in the
boss is
competition.
probably
They're gonna
the
have 2
Centaur
points
guy
now.
and the final
This
boss.
fight, Team Sykkuno losing to that Gladius fight. They're still
Is it
able to
Radon?
Bring it together and take
No.
down Libra. Team Gray, led by
You
Athos,
mentioned the final boss was
winning
Gale tier. Would you put him above
consecutive.
Mesmer?
Also,
I still gotta
how
fight
many
him
runs
more and then decide.
It was a great run until Libra showed up.
He's the ultimate test, right?
It's a
The
bit of a-
ultimate test.
bit of a
I don't
theme
know,
with Libra.
but I really like him though. He's actually really fucking good. He's like probably the most cinematic fight that From Software has ever made.
It's still a
That
challenge.
final
It's
boss,
still a
it's kinda-
serious foe, but they kinda
He's
crushed
actually
it.
insane.
They did. You know, the crater gargoyle. They didn't even, they recovered.
But he's actually not
really
that
well.
like he's not that tough
Yeah.
though.
I mean, the coolest thing I was mentioning with this team compared to the others is they didn't
Like
go for
arguably
that
this
first.
boss is more
They
challenging than
sit
the
on
final boss.
overworld, They got some cool weapons. They were still
Maybe.
level 14 coming into Libra
You
without
spoiled
doing
the
anything.
gender.
I feel like-
Shit, my
Yeah,
bad.
and 8+ being up there. I've never
Shit,
seen that before.
my bad.
Neither.
It's wild.
I mean, I don't know.
Just got caught in this
What if-
cycle. We talked about it a little bit.
Caligo seems so picky. Yeah, Caligo, the dragon boss fight is actually
Never quite
that one feels like a Final Fantasy boss fight as well.
yourself up with those sigils.
And even like the
Those
music is like
things
very
can be scary,
JRPG.
and you get caught trapped in that phase where
Pretty
you're
cool.
no longer able to
Decent
do
fight.
damage. But it's a scary thing to try to face the boss alone with both
Yeah.
your teammates down.
But
Most
that's
cinematic
the
is an
thing
insane
that
take.
sense, right, is that you're gonna-
I'm
this
not
is
even lying.
gonna
Like
happen.
once you fight the
You
final
can
boss,
go
you
to
will
this
literally
Wilder,
understand.
Iron Eye, Wilder,
You will
whatever.
literally
You'll get to that
understand
point, and then
that
you're
he
gonna be
is the
able to
most
fail,
cinematic
try again, go for
from
new
soft
night
fight.
bosses, new ever jails,
Like, I'm
and
not,
then get
like-
to Libra once more, go for
It's
revenge.
crazy.
It's really, really cool.
And you'll get it.
Yeah,
You will get it.
And then
Freya was a
every
pretty
single
cool
time
fight.
you
There actually is like a new there's like a new thing with Freya. When you chop off her head, it like rains down a bunch of these like what do you call it? Like these webs that are like sticky and they slow you down. So like you actually get like debuffed when you cut off her head.
Fantastic run here. Able to clear out a lot of these night bosses. Absolutely no problem.
Why wasn't I invited here? That's whatever.
44,000 runes.
With runes to spare.
Yeah, that is unreal.
And
Like,
they
you
have-
buy out the shop.
They absolutely bullied this guy with perfect timing on breaking all of his shells
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
get him out of his phases.
I mean,
There's
the big
levels
thing
to it.
too, right? Like with this team and with some of the greatest teams we've seen so far, Blue, Cyan, Tan, the amount of work they put in to be perfect for Libra and stuff, it takes.
Yeah, like once you like get a
of knowledge and work. It's
once you like understand the first couple of days and like you
How
get
are
into
you
a
not
rhythm, like there's
invited,
no way you
lol?
basically lose. Like there's no way you lose. Raguel, thank you for the prime sub. How are you not invited? I don't know. They hate you because you speak the truth. I'm glad that I actually got invited to play the game. That's all. And I got to like make my videos and stuff. And honestly, I'd rather be here than actually be there. Honestly. Honestly. Is Libra the hardest boss? Maybe. He might be the hard. He's pretty hard. The second boss gave me some problems too. If you're fighting the third boss without projectile attacks, can be kind of shit sometimes. And then again, I kind of did it without it, so I don't know. I gotta play them more. Gotta play them more. Bro, they got everybody on here, man. I'm like reading all these names and stuff. Like they actually got like high-end streamers. They don't just got like Souls people. Did you Unga Bunga all the bosses solo? I did a lot of the bosses with different characters. So yeah. Who fought the hardest? It just depends. So that's the attack I'm talking about. It's like it rains down a bunch of these spider webs. then it slows you down. Pretty interesting. I see a difficulty. If you are a high-end streamer, I don't know about that one. I feel like this game is made by 2 directors. I don't know. I don't really get that vibe. But they definitely focused more on the Night Lord bosses, more so than anything else when it came to the boss fights. That's for sure. Were any Night Lords bad? There was like some that are like, I don't know. Like there was one that kept flying around and stuff was pretty boring. But like, it was still pretty to look at. But it was like kind of Elden Beast-like, you know? But just not as good. So it had like the Elden Beast spectacle, but like no cool attacks to try and dodge. But like there was some more cinematic aspects to it. That one is probably the worst one. Didn't like that one. Yeah. So like, why the fuck is a Deathrite bird showing up at the end of the day? Like, that's what I'm talking about. No Bloodborne bosses? No, they can't be Bloodborne bosses because that's owned by Sony. It's just Dark Souls and Elden Ring. Did you fight Nameless King? Yeah, I fought other bosses, yeah. Nameless King fight was actually really good. I actually was concerned that they were just going to have the first phase Nameless King, but they actually have the second phase there too. And actually a pretty cool transition to the first and second phase. Well, nothing too crazy, but you know. Can you play it offline? Yeah, you can. Playing all the randoms will be fun. It'll be funny. It'll be funny. There's no Demon Souls content, no. Just Dark Souls and Elden Ring. Yeah, Smelter Demons there. Smelter Demon fight was pretty cool. I think those are the exact same. I think there was no changes there. What's Libra's damage? I don't know. Was this guy's even leveled up much? He's level 12, yeah. Because that'll do it sometimes. That's not that bad. Like most of my times when I'm playing like level... When I was playing solo, like most of my runs ended up being like around about level 11 or 12. Who are these dudes? Is this a... Sitting in this fucking... Something that looks like the round table? Is it the Katarina skin? Yeah. There is. You get the Onion Knight set for the Raider. It's pretty cool. Predictions in the DLC? I don't know. It'll probably be like an extra boss to like like an extra Night Lord boss or 2 maybe. There'll be a couple more characters. And then just add in more to the boss pool. Hopefully there's a bunch more Dark Souls bosses. Maybe some DLC bosses. Yeah. I'm a Michael Zaki fan. Thank you for the follow. The most disappointing Dark Souls skins were for the Executor. Because there was no Sir Alone skin. That was like the most disappointing one. But all the other characters had pretty cool skins. Worth the price tag? I'd say so. I don't know. It depends what you do for a job and how much money you make and stuff. Like, I don't know what's, like, valuable to you, you know? Like, if $40 is worth it for you in the game and you really want to play something else, then yeah, go ahead. They fumbled the Dark Souls 1 boss selection. Now, to be fair, there's not many good bosses in Dark Souls 1. Like... So, like, Centipede Demon, although, like, one of the worst bosses. Part of the reason is because of the shit camera. That's kind of fixed. And Gaping Dragon is, like, whatever. But you could add Quailag and, like, you know, some of the DLC bosses would have been cool, but... What can you do? There was no DLC bosses at all. For, like, any game. No Elden Ring DLC. Well, I guess the Hippo, kind of. But it makes you think that the Hippo was actually designed before the DLC actually came out. Or before Nightreign was even getting designed. But yeah, no Shadow of the Erdtree main bosses. No Dark Souls 1, 2, or 3 DLC bosses. Who are the Dark Souls 2 bosses? Smelter Demon and Freya. It's just 2 for each, which is like disappointing. I talked about it in my video. Do characters have reverse gender skins? No. Oh yeah, but the Executor did have the Sable Church, which is like the Europe. That was like the only one. But that was kind of weird though. I wasn't sure why they... Like, why give him that skin and not Sir alone? Whatever. Because like they gave us Artorias skin, so like that's a Dark Souls 1 DLC skin, so... We got DLC bosses in the Nightreign DLC, probably. Probably. Sell the DLC again. Exile, thank you for the follow. Dark Souls 3 is the only decent boss selection. Will you have any Nightreign channels on your Discord server? Oh yeah, fuck, I should make one of those. True. I should make like a Nightreign server, so like to have people wanna like start a game or find people to play with. That'd be a good idea. Kara, remind me later. What's good about the new God skin? The new God skin, one, you fight one by itself for the first half, and then the second one spawns in. And the second phase is actually pretty cool and cinematic, so. And when you're playing it solo, as I mentioned in the video, one kind of stays a bit more passive. If you're playing it in multiplayer, they're not going to be, one's not going to be more passive, but you're going to have multiple people anyway, so. It's actually pretty cool. And there's like a few, like they both have like a different moveset in the second phase, like more like black flame attacks and stuff and AoEs and shit. It's pretty cool. Will there be a Godwin boss fight? No, I mean the DLC. I don't know, maybe. It's like the gargoyles, but good. Yeah. Ornstein and Smo would have worked so well. Oh yeah, true. I forgot Ornstein and Smo for some reason. Yeah, that would have been cool. I don't know why they didn't have Ornstein and Smo. And I had the Centipede Demon instead, but whatever. Anyway. Okay. Team of 10. I just want to play the game. I don't watch people play the game. I just want to play the game on stream. No champion Gunder? No. Let's go on Go Pack. Does the overall quality of Knight's Lord compare to the Elden Ring boss quality? Yes. Do it, forget the rules. I signed a contract, chat. I'm sorry. Is the true final boss Promise Consort? Who was the 2 for Dark Souls 1? Centipede Demon and Gaping Dragon, and Dark Souls 3 is Dancer and Nameless King. You'll get all the answers soon. You were told that you can't say all that. Yeah. There's some things I can't talk about. Is Guardian any better than the network test? Yes. The Guardian is actually the one that I played with to actually get my first solo. Because he's like super fucking tanky. And I was like, I need to survive and actually try and memorize these bosses and stuff. Although there isn't like many character specific relics that he gets that really enhances his kit. But he's just like super tanky, which is nice. And he's decent for guard countering and stuff because, you know, but like I still don't really care much for his passive. He is going to be a bit better because there are like relics out there and there are buffs that you can get that have the enemies get attracted towards you when you're blocking. So you can play Guardian, pick up that relic ability, and then block, and the enemies will get aggroed towards you and just tank the entire time. And his passive could be useful for that. His ultimate's still really good, like obviously really good at reviving. It's decent damage. The thing is, like, Revenant's ultimate kind of just directly outclasses it. Because Revenant's ultimate, you actually can get a relic for the Revenant to where her ultimate can actually result in a Ghost Flame explosion that does basically just as much damage as Guardian's ult. But it also revives people at a much further distance. And it actually makes them invulnerable to dying for like a short period of time. So, pretty cool. What's the weakest class? I don't know. I don't know. They're all pretty balanced. What do you think of the difficulty slider they put in Liza P? I don't mind. I don't know. I'm just going to play it normal difficulty. Whatever the one that we normally play with. I'm just going to go do that. Doesn't change how I play the game. Is there a lore explanation for what the heck is going on in the game? Yes, there is a story. And every single character has their own quest line and stuff. And you learn about their backstories and stuff. And there is like a final... There's a final ending cutscene and stuff and all that shit. Now, in terms, do I know much about the story? No, I kind of skipped like most of the dialogue. You can go watch a good old Vardy video for that one. Why is there any lightning arts in Fusion and only flame arts? I do not know why. If you play solo bosses, are they as hard as Millennia or PCR? No. Like I think they had in mind that to make the bosses not be that challenging, or the Night Lord bosses not be that challenging, because it takes a while to get back there, so you're gonna have less opportunities to memorize the boss fight. So like none of them are as hard as Millennia or Radahn. They're probably not even as hard as like Rolana. Like to really like memorize a boss fight. Like they're pretty, like there's a lot going on. Like so much like visual clutter for like specifically the second phases. And some like attacks can be kind of annoying. But nah, they're pretty fun. I don't see anyone beating Libra alone. I did it like multiple times. So I've done it with multiple characters multiple times. It's not that bad. Not that bad. And, you know, they're still like scaling for solo play. So like, it's still going to have, you know, less health and less poison stuff. Like one thing you don't really see is people stance breaking. And that's because in multiplayer, enemies just have way more poise. Why do they say Iron Eye is the best? Because bows are actually pretty good infinite ammo, and Iron Eye gets like pretty decent moveset pretty quick, and his skill can debuff enemies to make them take more damage, and his ultimate's hard hitting. Like his entire kit's basically flawless. And he actually gets like really good scalings too. He's very, very squishy, but like, you know, he's arguably like a better Duchess when it comes to like getting damage with weapons too, for some reason. Because he gets better scalings than Duchess with a quality build. So like any weapons that you pick up really, except for like a magic based one. But you don't need magic because you have a bow. How's Executor's parrying gameplay compared to Sekiro? Obviously not going to be that good. I think that's the next video I'm going to make, or guide. That's the first of a guide I'm going to make, is the Executor. I've been working on that video already. I should drop that tomorrow. Hello, Saba. What brings you here? Yeah, can you stop clicking buttons on my keyboard? What did you press? Stop that. How long will they take to pirate this game? I don't know. Stop biting me. Stop biting me. I just got here. When you just got here. Ow! That fucking hurt. She's a whole cat now? She's a whole fucking cat, yeah. You're a whole cat, aren't you? Hey! I'll play with you later. I got to stream. You're acting like the bosses are gonna be easier for you when you use a pro. What you doing, girl? Executed parry is proper manual parry, though. What do you mean? It kind of like the parry timing is a bit different. Like you can click the button like a whole second earlier, and it'll actually result in a parry. But you can't like consecutively spam it like you can in Sekiro and Elden Ring and stuff. So it's kind of weirder timing. It's like it's easier for the first one, but the rest, if you're trying to deflect combos, it's like a lot harder, especially like quicker combos. Can they add bosses through updates? Hopefully. Hopefully. You prefer a Guardian or the Raider? That's a good one. They're both pretty good. Like, Guardian's more tanky, Raider can do more damage. One thing I don't like about the Raider is that he's like movesets. He gets like different movesets for great axes, great hammers, and colossal weapons. But like they're all the same speed and they're really slow. So Raider's pretty much meant for colossal weapons because he has like a really bad dexterity scaling. Whereas Guardian's quality, so you can use like many more weapons. And he's like, his skill is pretty inconsistent to try and get like that fully charged attack off, but it's pretty fun to use. And it's good because like it basically serves like endure as well. Like you can just tank so much damage pretty easily. And yeah, there are like some, I don't know, maybe the Raider's probably a slight bit better like overall, because he also has like relics and stuff that can help like boost your damage and like boost your defenses and stuff when you're standing next to the totem that he spawns in. So yeah. Is the Duchess good? Yeah. Duchess is good. Where they're just playing for the comfort of their own home. They're not even going anywhere. Why'd they invite me? Is Duchess better to start off with than Recluse? Well, you actually can't start off with a Duchess until you actually beat the first Night Lord. So, unfortunately, this is actually an event. I'll just run away. You guys are cooked. The storm's here. But this is actually one of the Night Lord bosses. But sometimes, you know, some Night Lord bosses can spawn in and invade you. Is Revenant good at solo runs? No. It's probably the weakest for solo. She just has like very small amounts of health. And there's no consistent way to get more FP, which is probably her best way of doing damage is by using incantations. But her best part of the kit is her passive ability, because you just kill enemies and they can like literally respawn as spirit summons. Like there's a good chance of it happening as well. And it could be like larger enemies like an Omen or like a Banished Knight. You can just kill them and they'll just respawn and they'll fight for you. Which like in a Night Lord boss, that's pretty useless. And your summons themselves just don't do much damage. Where have I been? Playing Nightreign. Yeah, that was the boss I was saying that I didn't really like, yeah. Is Executor not accessible until after you defeat a Night Lord? No, Executors, you can use that from the beginning. The only ones that you need to unlock are Duchess and Revenant. Those are the only ones. Everything else is available at the beginning. Hate that there's no FP flask. Yeah, like there's some things that you can use the stuff to get more FP, and there'll be like plenty of abilities out there that you could use. Which character fits your playstyle? I don't know. I'm pretty flexible. I don't know which one I like the most. Like, Executor's fun. The Deflector's kind of like niche though. Wilder is like the most consistent. And I like the grapple hook. It actually is a relic ability that can give you 2 grapple hooks. And it's just fun to just grapple hook to just be fast. It's great. Yeah. Iron Eye was like really easy to play and just fucking great too. I don't know. Oh, pretty good. Duchess, obviously like satisfying when you just get big damage off and just use a skill. I have not played Isaac, no. How does Duchess have a higher instant dex? I don't know. I don't know. But yeah, like, Duchess is not really the dexterity character. Only gets like a B scaling in dex. Which like, the Iron Eye gets an A scaling in dex, and the Executor gets an S scaling in dex. So like, you have to try and find some magic-based stuff. Like, your best bet is trying to find a relic that lets your starting weapon be magic-infused. And then you just hope to God that you end up finding like some point of interest that's magic or cold related, so you can actually get a magic scaling weapon. Or you can go try and use spells and stuff, but like it's kind of like just a worse recluse at that point. But obviously like her character skill is like arguably the best character skill in the game. How are the random events? The random events are actually really good. Like I talked about it in my video, like they were good. They just didn't spawn in that much. And they're all like very helpful. Like you can just avoid them if you want to, but like if you do them, you actually gain like pretty decent rewards. Especially like the shifting earth modifiers. Like you get like some broken abilities, but like they're pretty challenging to try and clear out. Is Noxtiller a good city? Yeah, it's fucking huge. Pretty cool. Bunch of like mini bosses there, and like there's at the end you fight a boss. Can get like a free extra life as a buff. Is the game mid? I don't think so. I think it's pretty good. Is there a Night Lord that unlocks after beating all the Night Lords? No. The 8th Night Lord is the final one. But it's very satisfying, and it's definitely worthy of being a final boss. So you're not going to be disappointed. Is Claymore with Flame Spear, Ash War with Flame Button Fusion good? Yes. Did you watch the Bring Me to Life Nightreign trailer? No. I did not. How does the loot work? Does everyone get the same loot or randomized? The boss drops are all randomized per player. So like that boss drop right there, that purple orb, every single person that interacts with it is going to get something different. But when you open up a chest and it spawns loot on the ground, everyone sees the exact same things. Or when you drop something, everyone's going to be able to see it. So like if you have a particular, if you have like a particular boss drop that you don't really need, but your teammate might need, you can just pick it up and give it to him. I hate that the reviews skimmed over the Night Lords as an oversight. They seem to be the best part of the game. Yeah. Like, I don't know. The reviews? Actually, let's go watch some reviews. I don't know why I'm even watching this. I'm not even paying attention, kind of, for the most part. Okay. Review should I watch first? Watch, Iron Pineapples. Iron Pineapple. I actually played with them as well. There was like this like big Discord server with like hundreds of people, and we're just like playing with each other. Doing it all. I need people. Okay.
For the past week, I have been playing a lot of Elden Ring Nightreign, the latest game by From Software. As a reminder on what this game even is, since it's not obvious from their trailers or marketing, it's essentially Elden...
Will there be spoilers? Probably in this video, yeah, I imagine. Who was the best teammate you had? I mean, I ran a team with Pine and Yako, and that was pretty good. Am I British? No, I'm Australian. Yeah, I was running with Iron Pineapple and Yako for my 7th and 8th Night Lord boss, and it didn't first try. So like pretty good. Yeah.
Elden Ring remixed into a fast-paced action roguelike for 3 players, where each run sees you fighting enemies and collecting loot in a shrinking Fortnite-esque circle. When the circle fully shrinks,
Can you guys hear it well? I think I turn on for myself.
you're forced into a nighttime boss fight. And if you survive, you repeat that same loop for day 2.
Is that good?
After surviving the second night boss, you face off against a third and final boss, one of the 8 Night Lords. And win or lose, that'll mark the end of your run. I'm sure some of you are clicking on this video just to hear if I like the game or not. So to get that out of the way, yes, I do in fact like this game, and I had a lot of fun with the several dozen hours I put into it.
Hey, there's me! Chat, there's me! I'm in there! There's my name! Chat, there's me! Look, Yui! I'm at Mizzino. Thank you for the follow.
I do in fact like this game.
Who's that
I had
loser?
a lot of
I don't
fun
know.
with several dozen hours I put into it. The gameplay loop of Nightreign is surprisingly compelling, and there's a lot to appreciate about its design. If you feel like you share my tastes when it comes to Elden Ring, Souls-likes in general, action roguelikes, and co-op experiences, I recommend it. Unless of course you plan on playing it entirely solo offline, in which case I'd say no. This game is clearly designed with co-op in mind, and that experience is at its best when you're playing with friends. If playing with friends is here, playing with the randoms via matchmaking is here, and playing entirely solo is here. But yeah, it's a great time with the group. All that being said, I do have problems with Nightreign, and I'd be lying.
Yeah,
if
I
said there
was
wasn't
kind of a
fair
bit
group that let
different
me-
there. I said that playing with randoms is like less fun than playing solo. But assuming your experience, if you're trying to go in blind solo, then that's the worst.
Disappointed. I'll get into exactly what those problems are later, but a lot of it boils down to a lack of randomization and variety across the board. 2 things you usually want to nail in a roguelike. I don't know exactly how other people are reviewing this game, but let's just say it's not the next 10 out of 10 FromSoft hit. And that's okay. It's a $40 experimental spin-off game relying on recycled content from Elden Ring and coming from a first-time director. And while I'm absolutely a fan of Miyazaki handing the reins over to someone else to do something experimental and weird, that comes with obvious limitations. And that's all from a charitable perspective. I know plenty of people who are far less interested that hate everything this game stands for, and their interest drops to 0 when they hear words like fast-paced, multiplayer, and Fortnite-esque. That's not what they play FromSoft games for. And honestly, fair
Fortnite.
enough. I get it. If you fall into that category, this game definitely isn't for you. If you watch my
A lot of enemies had like a poise. Like there was like a poise buff for like all of them. So like Soldier Godric actually got buffed in Nightreign. He like tanks fucking like halberd attacks. It's kind of crazy. But like shield, like blocking was actually really good though. Like enemies like had their weapons get deflect off a lot more than normal. Ends you can also like 100% block everything with any weapon. Obviously, stamina cost is going to be a problem, but yeah.
My last Nightreign video covering the preview event, most of my thoughts and predictions for this game have remained the same. The stuff I liked, I still like.
Both of them got grabbed. That's funny.
I'm still mixed on. Anyway, yeah, Nightreign is fun. So let's talk about what it actually is, what works, what doesn't, and
Blade is broken, yeah, status effect's still good.
First, let's go over the full gameplay loop to make sure we're all on the same page. Before a run even begins, you'll find yourself in an alternate version of the round table hold. If you step up to the table itself, you'll be able to select which Night Lord you'd like to hunt in a vaguely similar fashion to selecting a monster to hunt in Monster Hunter. From there, you'll get thrown into matchmaking to find 2 other players. But of course, you also have the option of playing with friends by using a password. Or, I can't believe this since it's a FromSoft game, you can invite people to a lobby to skip the password altogether. It would have been cool if they actually got invited to the hub itself and you could interact with each other, but oh well, I'll take it. Next, you'll be presented with the character select screen where you can choose between 8 different Nightfarers. I'll go over some of them a little more later, but the important thing for now is just knowing that each offers a pretty distinct playstyle with their own passive ability, active ability on a short cooldown, and ultimate ability on a longer cooldown. Trust me when I say that this character roster is the best part of the game and goes a long way toward remixing the rhythm of the Elden Ring combat experience while also providing opportunities for fun co-op synergies and interactivity. You have a dude with a grappling hook, a birdman that can dive bomb the ground, a terraforming muscle guy that likes to headbutt enemies, a Sekiro parry master that can transform into a primordial beast with a whole separate moveset, and even a spirit summon class that summons a giant skeleton that shoots laser beams. And that's all on top of the unique moveset each character gets when using their preferred weapons. Like, using a greatsword with Wilder is different than using a greatsword with any other character. So yeah, this is Elden Ring combat, but these additions make Nightreign's combat very much its own thing. And side note, since you'll see them throughout the video, yes, there are skins you unlock for each character with in-game currency collected from
Sekiro class good for solo? Yeah, it's pretty decent.
Completing runs, and those skins include quite a few Dark Souls runs.
What's the requirement for unlocking Duchess and Revenant? Well, Duchess, you unlock Duchess by just beating the first Night Lord boss, and then Revenant, there's like a couple, there's like a mini quest line. Nothing too crazy. You could do it like in the first hour after you beat the Night Lord boss.
References. After each player selects their character, you'll be shown a brief cutscene of everyone walking toward a cliff.
Is this live spoiler free? Well, I'm gonna watching Iron Pineapple's video, so probably not. Probably not, no.
We're breaking into a sprint to catch a ride from a spectral hawk. Then the game finally begins.
Her skins are good. Her
map.
Duchess skins, yeah. I still got someone else, yeah. You can actually get the freighter skin.
On your bird. Instead of picking where you're dropping,
who has the best ult?
Style,
Executor.
the game picks for you. Pretty much every time, you'll land right next to a small camp filled with weak enemies that provide just enough runes to get to level 2. Just like Elden Ring, you need to find a site of grace to level up. But instead of choosing your stats, you simply hit the level up button to get a stat boost across the board, depending on the character you're playing as.
Like getting your first level is like the most important level because like it doubles your health. So like that first camp, you have to clear it out before you actually go to any point of interest.
I originally speculated that getting to choose your stats would be a better leveling system, but no, just a simple level up.
Why they locked Duchess? There's like a story reason behind why they locked Duchess.
Much better fit for such a fast-paced game. Speaking of which, let's talk more about that fast pace. Nightreign operates at a near breakneck speed where you don't really ever want to stop moving. Your primary means of getting from point A to point B is your super sprint, which is about twice as fast as just running normally. The reason you need to move so fast is because there's a constant ticking clock and shrinking play area that will rapidly damage you if you're outside of it. And your ability to effectively clear obstacles and choose your route through the map directly correlates with how strong you'll be able to get before facing the night bosses. When you first start out, you'll probably be like level 4 or 5 by the time you reach the first night. But once you get better and figure out what works, it's not unreasonable to reach level 10 by that same point in the match. Now, I'm sure some people will hate the fast-paced nature of this game, especially if they're coming from Elden Ring and we're hoping for a more slow-paced and exploration-driven experience like they're used to. But I really do think that the speed of this game works and is necessary for the type of game they're trying to make. Without this sort of time limit, not only would match length balloon into something unreasonable, it would also remove the strategy of moving around the map and defeating bosses in a timely fashion. When you and your buddies roll up...
This shit was so annoying. I hate fighting NPCs so much. But they give you such good rewards, and it's like a guaranteed purple weapon as well. Fucking NPCs. Best class for solo? I don't know, probably Iron Eye. I don't know. Though, like, there's a handful that's pretty good. I'll play with them more. We'll see.
A boss, it might be a foregone conclusion that you'll win the fight, but what's undecided is how long it'll take. and taking 1 minute versus 2 could be the difference in allowing you to hit up one more point of interest before nightfall. Thus, your goal isn't just to win each fight, but to win each fight quickly. The shrinking zone format also creates these tense and fun moments where you might get greedy trying to finish off a boss as the zone rapidly approaches, or you might find yourself struggling to scramble up a cliff as you barely outrun the flaming death barrier. These moments kind of rule, and all of that would be lost if FromSoft hadn't opted for such a fast-paced game. But what are you actually doing while you're speeding around? Basically,
Does Alienor probably
clearing
get a good
variety of
hype
points of
promo?
interest, such as camps, forts, churches, and castles.
I think it's
In
some
addition to
hype
the runes they
promo.
provide for leveling, each one features at least one mini-boss encounter
some,
that
I
drops a
think.
floating colored soul as a reward for defeating it. And this soul gives you
Maybe.
the choice between 2 or 3 different rewards.
But yeah, more hype promo
ranging
is always
from
good.
New weapons to minor permanent passive buffs. These permanent buffs include stuff like plus 10% extra healing or plus 6% physical damage. These points of interest also have additional loot in the form of extra weapons and consumables that pop out of chests. Each weapon has a passive attached to it, such as extra damage when two-handing or faster spellcasting. But these passives still take effect even when the weapon isn't actively being held. That means you should fill up all 6 equipment slots with weapons even if you only plan on actually using one to attack. Just like the other buffs, these are typically just minor stat boosts. However, a handful of weapons have special passives that only apply when you're holding them, and this is indicated by a small hand icon. Due to this restriction, they tend to be more impactful. Like one time I got a weapon that created lava whenever I began to sprint. Also, weapons have 4 different rarity levels: white, blue, purple, and orange. As you'd expect, they
Orange.
get more powerful the higher up you go, and each has its own level requirement. Level 3 for blue, level 7 for purple, and level 10 for orange. Lastly,
Weapon
all-
scaling still the same? Kinda. Well, like the scaling system is still pretty much the same. But the weapon scalings are not the same as in Elden Ring. Like a dagger gets a different scaling than it did in Elden Ring. I'll talk about that in another video that I might drop in a couple days. Are all bows the same in all classes? Or no, Iron Eye gets a unique bow combo. Yeah, he gets a unique moveset. Serigor, thank you for the sub, man. Good W's for Serigor with a Prime Gaming subscription. Bows are still useful for all characters because they're nice at just reviving enemies at a distance, or sometimes, you know, having a projectile option is always good. And it's free.
all loot can be shared. And this
Having
provides
higher
the
poise
opportunity
effect
for
weapon
teamwork
abilities,
to trade items
high
with your
promo like
teammates.
Marika's,
For example,
Mariah's
since boss
executioner's
level
ability.
rewards are individual, you
having
might
more
get the
poise
chance
helps,
to
yeah.
choose a high tier staff or bow that wouldn't fit your melee character, but would be perfect for your teammate. However, this is a bit tricky to pull off in random matchmaking due to the speed of the game and lack of communication. So I found myself mostly just doing this while playing with friends. As a side note, the
Long-time
randomized
fan? Thank
nature
you,
of
man.
which weapons you
Appreciate
get is
I'm
awesome for a
Deadwind, thank
game
you for the
using
follow.
Elden Ring as its base. I mentioned it in the previous video, but it bears repeating that Elden Ring is a game with hundreds of weapons and hundreds of spells in which the average player probably only used a very small fraction of that total amount. And Nightreign presents the perfect opportunity of forcing you to play around with weapons, skills, and spells you likely never touched in Elden Ring. While you're running around, you'll also be encountering other points of interest. The most important one is easily the ruined churches that add an extra maximum charge to your healing flask. Most runs will have you routing between every single one of these, since they're some of the most impactful upgrades you can acquire.
There's like more ways to get healing flask, and I still haven't figured it out. I still need to actually go look back at my gameplay and figure out how I'm getting more healing flasks sometimes, because you can get more outside of just going to the churches. And I don't know what the fuck it is, but like it happens when it does like trigger the effect. It happens like once every minute, and you get your flasks back. When you drain some of your flasks, but you sometimes can like overflow it and get even more. And I don't know how that fucking happens. I can't play the game right now. I'm not allowed to. I can if I want to, if I end the stream, but not on stream, you know. Can you change FOV? No. In TikTok, you said one class was broken. Which one? The Iron Eye is probably the best character, yeah.
There are also Everjails that can be unlocked with Stone Sword keys that contain mini-bosses, merchants that sell a variety of consumables and weapons.
They needed to be more like Stone Sword keys. Like, the merchant should actually sell a Stone Sword key. That'd actually make it pretty good. And kind of worth it. Because, like, there are, like, specific points where you can maybe find Stone Sword keys. Like, I kind of figured out, like, a specific chest that, like, 90% of the time it gives me a Stone Sword key. But, like, they just don't really drop as much. And, like, there's, like, a bunch of them on the map. And then, like, most runs, you just avoid them completely. Because, like, you just don't get a Stone Sword key.
And mage towers that contain mini puzzles for you to solve to unlock various magic rewards. And as you're moving between all these...
Most weapons are good, yeah. Most weapons are good, and they're actually all viable in this game. Because, like, even, like, the shit ones that are typically shit in the, you know, in the base game, if they have, like, a higher rarity, like, they're automatically good. It's like anything that has, like, a purple rarity, I'm going to use it over anything that has, like, a white rarity or a blue one, for the most part. It depends on what it is. So, yeah. Even daggers are fine. I mean, I wouldn't really use them over other things, but like if I got like a good dagger, then sure. Vari's bouquet. Yeah, Vari's bouquet should do some decent damage. I actually haven't looked at the damage numbers of that, but I think that's actually classified as a purple rarity, which means it's going to do more damage than like all the white ones and blue ones. Will the game have a photo mode? I don't think there's a photo mode, no. There's no DLC weapons, no. I don't play on an ultra-wide monitor, no. Sorry.
These points of interest, the super sprint isn't your only option. You can also keep an eye out for spirit streams and spectral hawk trees to reach your destination more efficiently. Spirit streams function more or less identically to spirit springs from Elden Ring by allowing you to leap up high into the air, and spectral hawk trees allow you to hitch a ride on.
Is there a romance?
A spectral hawk. These hawks
No.
follow set paths indicated by lines on the map, but you can deviate from the path slightly by
Next
tilting
game
the
after
left
Duskbloods needs to be returned to form. Dark Souls on level design with modern quality bosses. Isn't that what Shadow of the Erdtree is? Shadow of the Erdtree's level design is pretty much just as good as Dark Souls 1's. The only difference, I'll make a video about it eventually, but like the only difference being is that like in Dark Souls 1, the level design, you can't see shit in the distance, right? Because it's not an open world game. In Elden Ring, you can see in the distance. So it's like, it kind of like spoils some of that interconnected feel. So like I can see that in the distance, and when I go there, like, hey, look, I'm here again. But like you see it happening in like Shadow of the Erdtree, but you don't see it happening in Dark Souls, so it kind of makes it more more noticeable, or more cooler, I guess.
or hopping off early. And, as I'm sure you've seen by now, you have a little wall climb you can do.
But obviously, like Shadow of the Erdtree is more empty and stuff, so and a DLC.
And then in between all of that, there's still more in the form of scarabs that drop talismans, packs of roaming enemies, and additional field bosses hang out on their own. I really want to hand it to FromSoft for not only filling up the map with things to find, but also making the act of moving from point A to point B interesting through the varied terrain and elevations paired with these platforming mechanics. And because of the open world format, they needed to make approaching each point of interest at least somewhat interesting from every angle. And I think they mostly succeeded. Like the castle in the center of the map. Regardless of if you approach it from the north, east, south, or west, it works and is engaging on some level. Anyway, as you're running around, collecting stuff, and killing enemies...
Like, I don't mind fighting all these, like, you know, just regular shitty bosses, mini bosses that you fight in regular Elden Ring. Like, I don't mind fighting them, like, throughout the days. It's just the main problem I have is the end of day bosses. That's my biggest problem. Like, I don't care to fight, you know, these Alabaster Lords or whatever the fuck. I don't really care if I fight them in an Everjail. Like, whatever. Or if I fight, like, you know, 3 like big Albinorics as a boss, like it's whatever. But it's when I get to the end of the day, that's when it's like I have a problem.
There's a good chance you might go down.
How hard will challenge runs be? Very challenging. I don't think a level 1 run will be much possible. Be kind of crazy. I haven't attempted one, but
But instead of dying immediately, you have the chance to be brought back by this game's best feature, attacking to revive teammates. While it looks silly, it's actually pretty fun because there's a bit of strategy in how you hit them. Like, maybe you just run in to whack them. Maybe you pull out a bow and shoot them from a distance. Or, best of all, maybe you utilize a big ultimate attack that not only revives your teammate, but also deals massive damage to the boss. It's quality stuff, and ultimately the exact type of thing I'm looking for when playing a co-op game. That being co-op interactivity. And you can't get much more interactive than shoving a sword up your friend's ass to revive them. It's also worth noting
they put the fucking they put a Patches skin on the Duchess. So there's a Patches skin, but they put it on his armor set. That's funny.
that as you repeatedly go down, the amount of damage you need to receive to be revived also goes up. So don't expect to get away with being too careless, as it can be quite the ordeal to get revived when all 3 bars are full. And on the topic of co-op interactivity, let's talk a bit more about the various character abilities. You have great stuff like Raider's Ultimate that shoots a giant stone pillar out of the ground, but that pillar remains as part of the environment for a time. And you can do stuff like have your teammates sit on top and pelt the boss with ranged attacks. You have Iron Eye's marking ability, where he dashes in to mark a target, and then marked targets take increased damage from everyone in the group. You have the Duchess's...
It's not even just that. They take increased damage, and with sustained damage, it does like this bleeding effect. It's just fucking stupid. And the more you hit it, like the longer the debuff actually lasts, and you can like apply it again by the time that it wears off. Like, and it gives you iframes as well in that dodge.
Stage ability that allows her to repeat the damage an enemy just received. So you're encouraged to pay attention to what your teammates are doing and potentially combo big attacks with them. You have the Recluse and her magic cocktail ability, where you can create unique spells by pulling elements off not only enemies, but your teammates as well. What I just listed is far from an exhaustive list of co-op inter-
What was your question? Is the rarity weapons more important than the scaling? Yes. Well, like the thing is, the damage number is gonna already like incorporate that. So you just look at the one that has like the higher number. Then you just go with that, right? Obviously, like in respect to the speeds of the weapon. So like if you go over a weapon and it says this gets you like 150 attack power, and the one that you have has 110, then just go with the one that has 150.
Interactions.
Iron Pine Pulse reviews my favorite. Yeah, this review seems pretty good. I mean, he actually breaks down everything. I just like talked about like, you know, assuming that you already know about the game. That's why my review was like a lot shorter. I didn't actually talk about every particular thing. Because I plan to make like many videos and stuff breaking it down. Like these are like higher end content creators. They have like, you know, high quality videos and they drop like once every now and then. Whereas mine, I just pump shit out. So I didn't bother talking about the Night Ferrers because I'm going to make like fucking full, like this video that I'm going to make about the Executor. Yusef, thank you for the follow. The video I'm going to make about the Executor is actually literally longer than both my review videos. Like it's going to be longer. And I'm just talking about one enemy, one character. So
But do you get the idea? And even when abilities interact in less direct ways, there's still always that element of potential teamwork that permeates the whole combat system. Again, this is all great, and it goes a long way toward facilitating an
how
interesting
challenging
co-op
were your solo
experience.
runs?
Eventually, at about the 11-minute mark of the run, you'll be hit with the message of,
like when they first started off, it took a while. Like nowadays, I just basically never fail a solo run. So I could load up the game right now, do a solo run, and it's probably like a 90% chance that I win with like any boss.
of rains gather, portending the tide of night, and that's when the circle starts to rapidly shrink. At this point, you can push your luck a bit by trying to sneak in a couple more mini-boss kills, but your main objective should be working your way toward the floating golden
Humble
tree in
brag?
the sky.
I mean, it's
since
just
you only have
like-
about 2 minutes until the zone
I know,
fully
it's kind of
shrinks.
like beating a Elden Ring solo, right? Like, never failing seems boring. I mean, at that point, when you like never fail, you can like start incorporating challenge runs and stuff, you know? But yeah, for the most part, you know, as long as you lock in, you'll be right. What's my favorite Shifting Earth event? Probably the city. It's probably the coolest one. Are the drops based on character? Yeah. I talked about it in my solo review video, but yeah.
Once there,
For the
you'll
most
face
part,
off
it is.
against a wave of small enemies, and after defeating them, the night boss will appear from a purple mist. These night bosses are really neat. Most of them are designed with co-op in mind, and that can take a few
Game
different
of the year?
forms, such
No.
as multiple enemies at once, like a draconic tree sentinel with 2 horseback riders assisting him. It can also take the form of Elden Ring bosses with new attack patterns designed for group play, such as Margit with his new super blood slashes and more aggressive throwing dagger moves. On top of that, a handful of old Dark Souls bosses make an appearance, like the Centipede Demon, and this too is a cool fit for co-op because you can cut off its limbs and they'll keep attacking you while detached. All of this helps create an environment that encourages teamwork, and I frequently found myself communicating with my friends with callouts like, hey, you hold aggro on that guy while we focus down these guys. It's fun. The new boss mechanics were exciting to see though.
It is.
and I
Steven, thank you
basically
for the
just
follow.
wish there was a little more since not every boss feels new. Like, hey, it's awesome that the Falling Star Beast can now create these giant stone platforms that you can make a
Hey,
crash
look, it's
into.
me.
Give me more.
I'm there, chat. Look, I'm on TV. No way.
That. After defeating the night boss, everyone gets to choose a major boss reward, and this comes in the form of a passive buff, but a more impactful one than most of the daytime boss rewards. I originally expressed some hesitation around this passive buff concept in my previous video, and unfortunately, I feel pretty much the same. The vast majority of these buffs are just kind of boring. Like, hey, plus 18% damage negation is nothing to sneeze at, but man, that's just not very interesting from the perspective of changing your playstyle or evolving the build of your character mid-run.
That's
To be
kinda fair.
fair, there are a few interesting upgrades, like the one that creates an ice storm when you start sprinting, or the one that generates lightning bolts when you dodge, or the ones that cast spells when you slowly walk. But that's pretty much it, and they're a lot less common, and typically less useful, than the straight stat upgrades. I also ran into a frequent occurrence where 1 or 2 of the 3 upgrade choices would just be totally irrelevant to my character. Like, yeah, I'm probably not going to pick the option that boosts my spellcasting as the strength melee guy. This isn't inherently a bad thing, but it makes the already limited pool of upgrades feel more limited. And when 2 of the upgrades don't apply to your character, you're not really making a choice by defaulting to the 3rd. All that being said, I do want to extend some sympathy to what FromSoft created here and what their vision for Nightreign was. Ultimately, I think FromSoft wanted to create a condensed Elden Ring experience, but if they got too wild or too interesting with the upgrades, it could quickly devolve into something that isn't Elden Ring anymore. Is that goal potentially at odds with a genre that demands you repeat the same thing over and over? Maybe, but I do understand the dilemma of wanting the upgrades to be mostly background stat boosts in order to leave the core combat intact. And again, you're still getting build variety in the form of the weapons you collect. so it's not like that aspect of the game is entirely absent. I still land on the side that I wish things were handled a bit differently when it came to choosing upgrades, but yeah, I get why it ended up this way, and I think they did a solid job within that restricted vision. Anyway, with the night 1 boss down, day 2 begins, and the gameplay loop repeats. So let's go over some more things that can happen during that loop of running.
There's like a just change in voice randomly. He probably this is probably a morning voice. It's like I'll do the rest tomorrow. I've done that before.
Fighting and looting. One of the most interesting things that can happen while roaming around are these random events that demand your immediate attention. One example of this is a huge pack of enemies quite literally falling out of the sky.
I've never had this one. I've had ones where like, you know, a bunch of golems fall out of the sky, not this one. If I saw this in solo, I would just run away. I'd be like, fuck this shit, I'm doing something else.
Another example would be Margit invading and then hunting you down. Both of these are interesting because they can happen at any point during the run, even at inconvenient times, like while you're fighting another boss. This forces you and your group to improvise, and I think roguelikes are typically at their best when you're forced to improvise by making the best of a bad situation. These also have the opportunity to create dynamic moments that are dependent on the environment of the map itself. One great example of this
That's like the thing is that's different about like some of the mechanics in this game is that like you get like do you know sometimes how you're constantly attacking it and you stance break an enemy and you have to go for a critical attack, but you constantly keep attacking because you have to wait for the animation to finish. In this game, you don't have to wait for the animation to finish. You can just keep spamming R1 and it will end up doing like seamlessly going into a critical attack. So whereas in Elden Ring, you have to wait for the animation to finish first. This game, it's kind of seamless. So that's pretty cool. How does Revenant's Claw work? It's like a ranged-based claw type of thing. It's pretty slow, not like the most amazing damage, but it's pretty cool though. I mean, the thing is, there's no other weapons like that out there, and it's a white rarity weapon. So as soon as you find like a blue weapon or, you know, a purple one, you're just gonna switch it off.
When I was playing with Zully in Illusory Wall during the network test, and Margit invaded us while we were looting the small interior room of a fort. He wound up getting stuck inside, and we were able to pelt him with ranged spellcasting. It might sound like I'm being sarcastic when I say this, but this was awesome. And although it's a bit of a silly example, it shows just how much potential there is for the system to mix things up depending on where and when these events happen. Another
So
random
dumb.
event that I really enjoyed was when we got cursed and lost some of our max HP. We originally had a route planned, but we were forced to drop everything and find the guy who cursed us, which happened to be across the map. When we found him, he demanded 35,000 runes to lift the curse. We didn't have the money, so I said, fuck it, let's blast him, and what do you know, we triggered a secret boss fight. This is Nightreign at its best. Memorable encounters that mix things up, force you to improvise, and encourage you to deviate from your typical route. My complaints about this random event feature are just that I wish it was more frequent, and I wish there were more types of events.
Pretty much what I said is like they just don't happen enough. And there just needed to be more invasions. Like the invasions were the coolest ones. And there just need to be more boss invaders. Like another Morgott, but like one for each game. That would have been cool. How much poise should I have for my Flame Mods Claymore build? As much as you want. I mean, I just typically go for 51s for the... It's pretty safe. I mean, there's lots like many, like pretty much all bosses you won't be able to tank it no matter how much poise you have. How viable is Executor's parry overall? It's better against smaller, like, trash mobs. Against larger enemies, it's kind of useless. But, like, his whole base kit is kind of broken, so he's still good overall.
I want to say I only got to see one of these every 4 or 5 runs, and the pool of encounter types is a bit too small if I'm already seeing plenty of repeats with that level of infrequency. Another world event that you can sometimes run into is an interdimensional vortex, which, while neat, isn't quite as cool as the name suggests. It's a tornado that sometimes appears hovering above a key location at the start of a run rather than appearing mid-run at random, and they function by buffing the enemies and bosses below. Additionally, entering these areas prompts 2 NPC invaders to pop up and attack you as well. So again, neat idea that breaks up the usual routine of a typical run, and I would have loved to see more of this type of thing. The biggest deviation that can change...
I just wish it wasn't an NPC.
run though is a shifting earth event. However, similar to the vortexes,
So the tornado spawn in Nameless King?
instead of surprising the player mid-run,
He's
these are
spoiling everything in his review? I mean, yeah, he's talking about, like, every part of the game, really. I mean, except for, like, you know, some of the bosses, I guess. I guess you might get to that anyway. But yeah, this is going to be a spoiler review, seems like. How much experience do you think someone needs to beat this game solo? I'd say about, like, a solid 20 hours. Which is about, you know... I think I recommend is, like, beating the game first, like... I don't know, it depends how much gameplay you have. I mean, for me, I did it in about, like, 10 hours in. But, like, you know, I have 4,000 hours in Elden Ring. So...
telegraphed ahead of time at the very start.
That's half of it
Basically,
right there.
you'll sometimes encounter a different version of the map, where one of the quadrants has been terraformed.
Because like the thing is like, you can fight field bosses, because like field bosses are kind of meant for day 2, like this boss right here. And you can fight them day 1, and they can give you so many runes and help you set up the entire run. And there are times where like I did that, fight them in day 1, and the only reason I did that is because I'm comfortable with their movesets. Like even if it has shit damage and they're gonna kill me in like 1 or 2 hits, I can like comfortably like no hit some of these bosses like this one. So like there's some times where like that happens, but like for the most part, if you just know the correct pathing, you should be okay. There's no voice chat, there's no in-game voice chat, and there is a pinging system, but it's kind of shit. Like you can ping items sometimes, but like you can't like ping like an enemy and be like, hey look, there's an enemy here. Like you just ping a location on the map and that's it. During the test, I got cooked by multiple times by Loretta. Yeah. Like your field bosses are meant for day 2, and like the middle building, like in the middle of the map, that big building, that's meant for day 2 as well. And Everjails, they're kind of meant for day 2. Like the game doesn't describe it to you. Like, yeah. LFG channel on your Discord, I might make one of those, yeah.
And remixed into a different environment. There are 4 in total, and they include a volcano zone.
It's
Snowy
me
Mountain
again, I'm on TV.
Zone, Scarlet Rot Swamp Zone, and Noxtella City Zone. So again, to be clear, 80% of the map is the same as usual, but part of the map is now this additional biome. Each of these is big and dense enough that in order to explore and complete them properly, you need to dedicate most of your day 2 time solely to the Shifting Earth location. Tackling them day 1 is usually completely off the table, since these areas are tough and filled with plenty of higher level mini-bosses. They each function kind of like legacy dungeons, and the first one, the volcano, is a great example of this. You essentially need to descend down the volcano layer by layer while dealing with various bosses along the way.
You can like jump down like halfway and skip half of this shit. It's pretty cool. You look cute out there? Thank you. Can you ask the directors if they can change the bosses? There's not much I can do.
Very worthwhile reward. I won't spoil what the rewards are, but each Shifting Earth has its own reward, and they're massive enough that you pretty much want to go after them every run if they're on your map. When you get a Shifting Earth event, it will remain on the map for several runs in a row, even if you reach the reward at the end. And as you go through the game for the first time, you'll encounter each of the 4 Shifting Earth events sequentially. I have some problems with how they decided to implement this whole system, especially within the context of them becoming incredibly infrequent after the credits roll, but overall, I think this is a very cool addition, and the Shifting Earth biomes are incredibly fun to figure out the first time you encounter each one. So yeah, that's basically how a run goes. You run around getting stronger for 2 days, and defeat a variety of bosses along the way. If you manage to do that, all that's left is the final boss at the end, the Night Lord. As I mentioned earlier, there are 8 Night Lords in the game, and I think basically all of them are great fights. And more so than the Night 1 and Night 2 boss fights, the Night Lords feel designed from the ground up for co-op. The obvious example is the first Night Lord, Gladius the 3-headed dog. He not only has tons of sweeping attacks that can hit the entire group, he also splits into 3 separate dogs at multiple points during the fight. Dealing with 3 things at once feels pretty co-op to me. But what really won me over with these bosses is the design philosophy of mixing gimmicks into the fight alongside traditional attack and dodge.
See, I think I got hit here because he was saying like stand behind this rock. I'm like, I don't see a rock. On my screen, this like whole rock didn't appear. We need to stand behind it to block the attack.
Gameplay. There are multiple moments where
So I'm
it feels
like,
like
what fucking rock are you talking about?
Boss. And I mean that in the
That's
best
like I can just walk straight through it because like it didn't appear on my screen.
possible way. Libra is a
Good thing I blocked it.
great example. This guy will light your screen up with projectiles and shockwave attacks designed to target everyone at once. Not only that, but there are additional mechanics like needing to collect little madness pebbles off the ground while fighting to keep your madness meter down. There's even a part where he goes into a meditative stance and you need to quickly break all the floating sigils he creates in a limited amount of time. And some of these are high enough off the ground that you need a ranged weapon to hit them. If you're too slow, he gets temporarily buffed and goes into a whole different attack pattern. As someone who often misses when FromSoft used to be more experimental with puzzles and weird gimmicks during boss fights, I think this blending of traditional fast-paced Elden Ring action with strategic co-op focused gimmicks is fantastic. Seriously, these won me over in a big way. Another cool aspect to these fights is that team composition matters. Like, obviously any fight can be done with any group of characters, but sometimes it can be massively helpful to have a ranged character to target the boss while it's flying.
Yeah, like this boss right here, even though like there's one down below. I'm not gonna spoil the fight, but yeah, it's just nice to have one.
Character in charge of trying to hold aggro. Stuff like that. This is an element of the FromSoft co-op experience that's new and refreshing. And that's to say nothing of the spectacle of it all. Like, oh my god, these guys look really cool. And the music! Just listen to this shit.
It's like such a Final Fantasy boss.
It's wonderful and pairs with the different vibes of the bosses.
Is there a
so
skibbity
well.
toilet in
Win or
Nightreign?
lose here, you'll exit the run with rewards in the form
Yes.
of relics and merc. Relics can be equipped in between runs to slightly alter your stats and abilities, and merc can be used to purchase additional relics or cosmetic skins for your characters.
It takes a while to get that much, by the way. To queue up like 35,000 merc, it takes a minute. Takes a while. Because like after every single run, you get like 2,000 and a bit. And every single run is like 40 minutes. So you can like sell relics though and get some more back. But it takes a minute.
This is a good time to talk about the roundtable hold and what else there is to Nightreign beyond going on runs. First of all, this version of the roundtable hold is fucking gorgeous.
The Dark Soul skins are very cheap though. They're like only like 7,000. So it would take like about 3 or 4 runs to get enough to buy a Dark Soul skin. But you'd unlock Dark Soul skins like at the end of the game basically. Can you play any weapon or any character? Do you have any specific ones? Can you play? Yeah, you can play any weapon and any character. Yeah, you can even like use spells on like the Raider.
You have trees
It's just like obviously some are going to be better than others because every character has their own scalings and stats basically.
growing out of crumbling walls, rays of sunlight peeking through holes in the roof, and
Best
multiple
seal for
outdoor
40
areas
faiths?
seamlessly
That is
mixed in
Godslayer
with the
seal.
interior zones. It's beautifully done, and I don't think I'm crazy for saying this is one of the coolest hubs FromSoft has ever created, which is pretty surprising given that the original Roundtable hold was like in the bottom 3 for me in terms of FromSoft hubs. The hub has multiple functions, like a codex to read over all the mechanics and character details, a training area to mess around with each of the Nightfarers, and a little jar guy that sells you stuff. The most important function it has, though,
That
is the
jar
ability
guy is so fucking cute, by the way. He'll like
with each of the Nightfarers,
He,
and a little jar guy that
when you talk to him, obviously he can't speak, so he draws like his expression on this like chalkboard, and then like when you talk to him but don't buy anything and just leave, he like draws like a sad, like him with like a sad expression. It's pretty
sells
pretty
you
cute.
stuff. The most
Cool guy.
important function it has, though, is the ability to access character remembrances. As you play with each
Ooh.
character, you'll unlock
That was dangerous.
chapters in a journal that
Now
provide
I
bits of
fight
story about
as
the character. And some of these
Horaloo,
chapters have the option to begin
warrior.
remembrance. After selecting this option, you'll essentially get taken back in time to a specific story moment prior to the events of the game.
I didn't talk about the story shit at all.
While there, you can talk with various NPCs for some classic FromSoft NPC dialogue and storytelling. Most of these vignettes conclude with an NPC requesting something for you to do while on your next run. These typically include collecting
Do you need PlayStation Plus? I believe you do, yeah.
item or defeating a specific enemy. Then after you do that, you unlock another story beat, a collectible item usually in the form of an equipable relic, and then the next chapter of the journal begins. Each of the 8 Nightfarers has their own little story with their own objectives. Aside from collecting relics, this is the main form of meta progression to focus on while playing. And they're definitely worth doing even if you don't care about
Who
the
is she?
story,
You'll find
because
out.
the relics you unlock are always the best and most powerful ones for each character. One major downside to this whole system is that multiple remembrance objectives can't be active at the same time while in a party. So if you're playing in a group of 3 and all 3 of you are trying to progress remembrance by collecting something, only
Is
the host
Khalid
will
on the
be
same
able to
level
earn
as Bale
progress.
and Medea? I think cinematic wise, yeah. Mechanically, no. I only fought him like a handful of times, so I'm still gonna fight him more. But like there was like some AoE attacks. It's like, how the fuck am I meant to dodge this? But he looks cool. He's not like incredibly like annoying to fight though, for the most part.
I understand why they had to do it this way, but it's ultimately an awkward choice in a multiplayer focused game. On that note, let's talk a bit more about my actual experience with this game. So obviously I received a review code, but since this is a multiplayer game, Bandai tried to facilitate that experience by creating a private Discord server for other content creators and games journalists to connect on. Several of my content creator friends were included in that group. So due to this setup, I not only got to experience the game with a pre-made group of friends, I also sometimes queued up with random people of various skill levels via the random matchmaking. I also went out of my way to occasionally play the game entirely solo to understand that perspective as well. Let's talk about playing with friends first. Like most co-op games, this is the most fun way to experience the game. You're not only able to communicate effectively on where exactly you want to go, you can also better utilize mid-boss strats of pulling aggro and comboing abilities. Additionally, it's far easier to share weapons and items with each other. For example, right before each Nightlord fight, there's a shop that sells 2 Starlight Shards to restore FP. If you're a spellcaster, these are valuable. So if you're in a group, your friends can also buy 2 each and drop them for you, giving you a total of 6 items for FP recovery. You also have the opportunity to organize goofy runs where everyone plays the same character. I highly recommend messing around with this. You'd think 3 Iron Eyes wouldn't work, but it actually works a little too well. In my triple Revenant run,
Sacred Infusion, who's gonna use that? I mean, as you said, that there's one boss right here that's very weak to holy damage, and there's a couple of like Nightlord bosses that are weaker to holy. And the thing is, the weaknesses of the Night Lord bosses are actually different. He might end up explaining it, but yeah.
With our army of spirit summons was especially memorable. And of course, the biggest reason to play with friends is just because it's fun to hear each other's reactions when things get dire and someone clutches it out. And this game provides plenty of opportunities for clutch moments due to the revive mechanic. You guys gotta do it, bro. You just gotta do it. You just gotta do it, bro. You just gotta do it. Come on, you can do it. 1 or 2. It's 1 or 2. 1 or 2. No. One
See,
more
like
hit.
without the game footage, it sounds a certain way.
Yes!
Dude, oh my god.
Oh my god!
That
Are
was
you recording
crazy.
that? Are you recording that?
I recorded that. I recorded
Oh
that.
my god!
Next, playing with randoms via matchmaking. This is still a very fun way to play the game, but it definitely has the potential to be a more frustrating experience. When you're running around the map, there's nothing stopping your teammate from just ignoring you and wandering off on their own. I ran into this issue multiple times, even within this private pre-release context, so I can imagine it getting even worse when the game fully releases. There is a
You have a
ping
sick
system where
mind?
you
I
can
said
mark points
nothing.
on the map, and that does help out a fair bit, but you still might get ignored. As a result of not being able to communicate properly, you're simply going to be less efficient in fighting and looting, and that translates directly to being less powerful for each boss fight since you'll be wasting time. Runs also tend to be a bit more chaotic when you're forced to go along with teammates making strange routing decisions. Thus, the game is harder, and honestly, that's not necessarily a bad thing, since I think a good challenge is fun. Hell, one time I had a terrible run going where one of my teammates was only level 8 for the final boss, but we managed to do it, and you better believe that was an exciting fight. So yeah, still a very fun way to experience the game, but I definitely prefer the friend experience, and I suspect those who play with friends will enjoy the game more in general. Lastly, we have offline solo play. Like I mentioned at the start of the video, I do not recommend you play the game like this. But that doesn't mean it's not doable, and that doesn't mean there isn't fun to be had. Enemies and bosses' HP bars are scaled down appropriately, though there's a good chance you're still going to struggle because you'll still be dealing with encounters that had co-op in mind, like boss fights with groups of enemies. FromSoft still does their best to provide you with a few tools to succeed though, such as a guaranteed purchasable item from merchants that will let you revive once per run. This is only in shops when you're playing solo. I did find some success playing solo, and I have beaten the majority of Night Lord bosses this way, but it's tough and borders on challenge run territory, something I think the average player would find too punishing and unfun. If you do insist on playing this way, I highly encourage you to at least learn all the bosses in a co-op setting first. But yeah, overall, I had fun with all 3 of these different ways of playing.
That's pretty much my exact same take as well. Pretty much my same take. Worm face? Yeah, I mean, I talked about it in my video as well, yeah. You can have a worm base field boss and be one at the end of the day. Fun stuff. Does Revenant work with faith builds? Yes.
It took me about 15 hours to hit the credits for the first time, but I think that's on the faster side, and I suspect the average player will take somewhere around 25 hours, if not longer. Now I've been sprinkling
15 hours to get to the credits? I mean, I was like fucking around a whole bunch and doing like solo runs and stuff. I don't remember how long it took me until I got to the final boss. It took a while. Yeah, because I was doing a bunch of solo runs.
my thoughts and critiques throughout this whole video, but let's spend some time to really get down to what I see as the bigger problems and disappointments I have with this game. First, and this is the biggest one by far, randomization and variety across the board is lacking. This takes a few different forms, but the main one is the map itself. Basically, with the exception of the shifting Earth world events, there is one map for the entire game. The only thing that changes between runs is that most of the points of interest get swapped around with each other.
I didn't mind the map was the exact same because the map is still like complicated and stuff to figure out. It took a while to actually like just try and figure out where I'm going. Even now I still like get lost, like where exactly am I? So I don't mind that there was one map because there's so many different points of interest. Map is fine. How many hours did it take for you to get all achievements? The thing is, I like kind of accidentally did it. I was like, how many achievements are there in this game? And I realized that I had like one more to go. I'm like, oh shit. So like by the time I checked it, I was like 60 hours in. I feel like if you really try to do platinum and all achievements, it'll probably take you like, I don't know, 30 hours at best, assuming you're really good. Some of the trophies are like RNG based though, so.
Like, what was a Fort 1 match might be a church the next one. Other points of interest like spirit streams, spectral trees, scarabs, everjails, and the central castle don't ever swap around. And of course, the terrain itself remains the same. Now, none of this is inherently a bad thing, but it does lead to runs feeling pretty similar each time, especially if you're like me and figure out strats like how it's effective to always set up the castle as soon as possible. This is compounded by the points of interest themselves being incredibly static. Like if you get a fort, There are exactly 2 potential bosses, a Golem or a Chrysolian, that you can encounter here, each with corresponding enemy layouts. Some areas are even worse, like if you get the Sleep Ruins area, you will encounter the same rune bear every time, no matter what. What this means is that after you encounter an area for the first time, you pretty much know exactly what to expect the next time you see it. Their locations on the map might shift slightly, but the areas themselves are incredibly static. This extends to the shifting earth biomes.
How much
as
does
well.
FromSoft pay you?
Yes, they
They
do
didn't
change
pay
up
me
the
anything.
map, but these areas are also very static.
Stop!
Same locations, same enemies,
Biting
same
me.
bosses, same rewards even.
Where are your
every
fucking
time.
toys?
That's why I said they're very fun to figure out at first, but less so as you keep encountering them and basically know exactly
No
what to do.
Bloodborne drip? No,
Now, I'm of
Sony
two
owns
minds about
Bloodborne.
this. On one
They don't have
hand,
the rights.
as I've said, yes, this all feels a little too predictable for a roguelike. On the other hand, this does play into classic FromSoft level design of being very deliberate with enemy and boss placements. So while sure I would have liked more, what we're left with is still thoughtful even if it is static. And on top of that, because you
The
know exactly
Starfist in
what
the
to
game, all the
expect,
base
it means
game
you can
weapons are in the game, yeah. Starfist is not going to be anything amazing because it's only like, I think it's only white or maybe blue. How do you unlock costumes? I think pretty early on you can unlock the way to buy like the light and darkness types of costumes. In terms of getting the Dark Souls ones, you have to beat the game.
can both refine your strategies for specific areas, while also being able to better gauge how long a specific area will take to clear based on past runs. Regardless, runs do feel too similar too quickly, and I found myself slipping into patterns of doing the same thing each run and taking similar routes.
Yeah, like there was this whatever.
Even when the starting locations were different. Not only does this get samey, it also makes the game easier.
Like they could have put like a Taurus demon right here, you know what I'm saying?
Easier because you figure out what works, and you can just keep repeating that. Like I
Like,
said,
there's so many bosses that they've made, just like, because like the end of whatever.
I was reaching level 10 by the first night pretty often at a certain point, and that's a consequence of this design. I think in my ideal version of this game, there would be a separate map for each Night Lord rather than one map for all 8. I really think
Yeah, like the thing is, because every single like Night Lord boss has its own specific boss pool. So if you're fighting a Night Lord boss like 3 times in a row, there's a good chance that some of them end up being very similar. Like in terms of like what bosses you end up fighting throughout the entire time. Which I don't know if I care for that much. There's 8 Night Lords. I wish like the whole thing was just like more randomized. Because like they have like the pool of all these different types of bosses and enemies and stuff, but like they kind of separated them and put them in separate smaller pools instead of just having one big massive pool.
I think they could have gotten a bit crazier than making everything Limgrave. Sure, we have a shifting earth event that turns one corner of the map into a swamp, but I feel like this game would have benefited
It also would have been cool if you can have like multiple shifting earthing events happen. But then again, you only have time to do like one for a day, so it would be kind of shit. I fought all the bosses in the game, yeah, every single one. Whether it's Dark Souls, mini boss, like I've done it all. Like some like events that I haven't gotten yet, but yeah, nothing crazy.
more from a map where the whole thing is a swamp, or a volcano, or a snowy mountain. I recognize that's asking for a lot though, so that might just not have been realistic given the scope of the game. Side note, it is wild how infrequent shifting earth events are after you complete the game. I think I got only one after hours and hours of runs, so that feels off to me, especially when it's one of the few things that adds some meaningful variety to the game. Maybe I was just unlucky though. My issues with limited randomization and variety also extend to the upgrades you can acquire mid-run, but since I already said most of what I wanted to say earlier in the video on this topic, I'll just remind you that it's a thing and further compounds the lack of variety I just mentioned with the map. To be clear, I think the game does deliver a very solid experience that maintains that FromSoft quality we're used to, and if you're just aiming to hit credits, it doesn't outstay its welcome. It's mostly after that point, when you try to keep playing it as this replayable roguelike, that you'll probably notice these things too, especially since there's no extra modes or harder difficulty options to uncover after finishing the game. I really hope they add some sort of hard mode, or maybe even a chaos mode that drastically increases the boss pools of each location.
Like an endless mode would be pretty cool as well, or like just some big giant random is added. No, there's something else missing for the end game.
Like maybe you can find a rune bear or a dragon on top of a fort instead of a knight. The Night Lord elemental weakness system is also kind of strange to me. So basically, cool idea on paper. You get to see the elemental weakness of each Night Lord before selecting it at the round table hold. If you use a weapon with the corresponding element, not only do you deal a lot more damage, you also get extra elemental staggers with their own unique animation. Keep in mind, these elemental staggers are in addition to the normal staggers. Between that and the extra damage, you can absolutely steamroll the Night Lords if everyone has the relevant damage type. Like truly, victory is a foregone conclusion if you do this. But hey, that seems like a fair reward for getting lucky with the weapon drops, right? Well, maybe, but my issue is that you can actually get them basically every time. You see, ruins and camps on the map are often
My
marked with
criticism is that you don't get them every single time. Because actually, there's a good chance that you don't get the specific element that you want. I didn't notice that being too broken, but to be fair, I played more solo, and I didn't really have like an entire team of everyone spamming the exact same element against the boss that's weaker to that element. But I imagine that could be pretty broken. You're a crazy girl.
With a corresponding elemental icon. This tells you what type of elemental threat you'll be dealing with, but it also tells you the type of reward you'll get. That means if you go to a fire camp, you're guaranteed to get a fire weapon. And even though it might only be blue tier rarity, all you need to do is run over to one of the unchanging mine locations and defeat a very easy mini boss to get a smithing stone that allows you to upgrade it to purple tier. A purple weapon with the correct element is more powerful than a legendary orange weapon. And again, with how this system is set up, you can get one of these pretty much every run with very little effort. Now, on some level, I like the idea of planning ahead and being strategic with your weapon choices to counter a boss, but the numbers here feel off. And maybe I'd be more okay with this if there was some form of harder difficulty options or alternate modes to mess around with after beating the game, but like I already mentioned, there are none. And I'm left with this feeling of, do I use this strategy to guarantee the win, or purposefully sandbag myself to have more fun? Truthfully, I'm faced with similar dilemmas in other FromSoft games, but it definitely doesn't feel great here in a game that revolves entirely around combat, at least for me. Next, let's talk about how they decided to handle the return of past Dark Souls bosses. And to be clear, this is definitely more of a disappointment than a problem. Basically, we all got baited hard by the initial marketing and reveal trailer. I think it was pretty easy to imagine this massive FromSoft crossover experience after they showed off the Nameless King from Dark Souls 3 in that first trailer. Then they showed us the Centipede Demon from Dark Souls and the Duke's Deer Freya from Dark Souls 2. So naturally, the community got excited about all the bosses that could be brought back. Lore be damned, Pandora's box had been opened, and I for one was looking forward to experiencing iconic Souls fights with Elden Ring mechanics. And while we did technically get that, unfortunately, that initial reveal was actually half of the Dark Souls boss roster. Yep, by my count, there are only 6 in the game, so 2 from each Souls game. I won't spoil them here, but yeah, it's a huge bummer. And beyond the boss disappointment, this also seemed like the obvious opportunity to bring back Dark Souls enemies too, in an effort to spice things up in a game that desperately needed a bit more variation. But that just didn't happen at all. It's only Elden Ring enemies. You're telling me you're bringing back shit from Dark Souls and not throwing in a bone wheel skeleton? Fucking airball, man. And on top of that, there were these obvious slam dunks. Like in the same way that Margit can invade you and chase you around, what about the Pursuer from Dark Souls 2? He was literally made for this. But no, they just didn't do it. Also, I understand that changes would need to be made to these bosses to make them work in Elden Ring. Hell, even with changes, a lot of them would probably get steamrolled by a co-op squad of players with Elden Ring mechanics. But man, I really think it could have worked. And
like the bosses are getting steamrolled either way.
The bosses wouldn't put up much of a fight. Just make them low-threat mini-bosses scattered around the world as opposed to night bosses. Like if I find some ruins, let me fight Capra Demon instead of another pack of Albinorics. So yeah, my theory is that these bosses were added pretty late in development because they felt like the existing Night 1 and Night 2 boss roster was too slim without them. And while I get that, it's hard not to feel baited and disappointed when the marketing seemed to imply a different type of game. Oh, also, what's the deal with them including none of the enemies and bosses from Shadow of the Erdtree, aside from the Golden Hippo? Once again, this feels like an easy layup that they missed, unless they're saving it for some plan.
I think like the Golden Hippo had to have been like designed before Shadow of the Erdtree. It was probably intended for the base game. They just didn't know where to put it, maybe? I don't know.
DLC. It's weird, man. My next disappointment is the relic system. The prospect of going on a run, getting some randomized relics, and then using them to create unique setups is pretty fun. The reality though is that 90% of the relics you get are worthless, and by the time you complete a few remembrances for each character, you'll have the best in slot character-specific relics that you'll never take off. Thus,
kinda, almost.
while it's technically a system that lets you mix and match, you'll really just be using the same relics as everyone else. Give or take one relic you can switch out with a few others. It's essentially vertical meta.
Like some of the character-specific skills aren't really the best ones to use. You might want to find some more specific options for the playstyle. But for the most part, it is kind of like that. Like the boss relics or like the character relics are the best ones. They need to be like more high-leveled relics. There's like one thing that the end game is missing. I don't know. There's actually more about a couple of things.
Progression disguised as something more interesting, and I think that's a bummer. Let me explain why this is. The vast majority of relics offer very minor passive buffs in the form of stat increases or attack boosts when using specific weapons. You have a relic that says +3 strength. Okay, that sounds cool, but what it really means is a 2% power increase for the strength character. You have a relic that says improved dagger attack power. That's a 5% increase. Not only are these relics not impactful, they're boring. But then you've got the character specific ones, and most of these are actually cool. Wilder probably has the best ones, with one that gives him a follow-up attack with his grappling hook that also buffs his weapon with fire, and another that leaves lingering fire on the ground background after his ultimate. Sick. A relic that's noticeable, impactful, and not boring. But here's the thing. There's only 3 or 4 of these per character, and with 3 relic slots, that means you'll be using the same relics as everyone else once you unlock them. And you unlock almost all of them from the remembrances as opposed to randomized rewards from runs. So while that's good for making sure you acquire them, it disincentivizes caring about most of the randomized rewards. The other big one that I think is neat is the relic that allows you to group heal when drinking a healing flask, and apply the effects of all consumables to nearby allies when you use them. This is impactful, noticeable, and changes the way you play. And that's basically it. With the exception of the handful of character-specific relics and the healing relic, none of them really change the way you play. What we're left with is a system that gestures toward builds and diversity.
Like the only other ones that I really care for would be like the ones that can start up, then change up your starting weapon, so you can actually guarantee a particular infusion that actually like matches up with your character stats. Like those ones are actually pretty good. And if you're using a character that blocks pretty well, like the ones that actually make you take aggro when you're blocking, or ones that give you like more damage negation or some shit after a successful block, or boosted guard counters. Like there's some things out there that are pretty useful. But yeah, there's not enough. A lot of them is like just boosted stats or whatever the fuck. But yeah, nothing crazy.
Without actually delivering. I really feel like they could have done a little more with the system. Its current form is underbaked, and while it's not a deal breaker by any means, it's disappointing. And it's doubly disappointing when collecting relics, the main form of meta progression, to keep people playing aside from remembrances. Anyway, that's about it for my complaints. I want to reiterate that Nightreign is a fun game that's worth your time. When I talk about it like this, it sounds like I hate it, but I really don't. I like it. I like it a lot. I really did have a blast playing it. And I think a ton of people are going to have even more fun than I did.
Yeah.
The way Elden Ring combat is remixed with character abilities.
It's a fun game. Like it's just this, probably just the end game is probably the biggest problem. The replay value, like towards like the later part. Because like at this point, like I've already played the game for 70 hours, and it's like I'm like, what do I do now? It's like I can just like make my videos and stuff and grind out more relics and trying to get specific ones that I haven't gotten already, to test them out basically. Just more like self-imposed challenge runs, unlocking skins, but that's about it. Like you just play the game because it's fun. Whatever.
It works. The co-op focused boss fights are well designed. The revive mechanic is goofy and fun. The time pressure creates tense moments and a satisfyingly fast pace to the gameplay. And the ways you're forced to improvise with random weapons are great.
Speedrun?
Together,
You can't even speedrun in this game because every single day has like the set time. So like it's basically every single run is going to be, I mean, the speedrun is basically going to be like how quickly you can kill the end of day bosses, but like the days take the exact same time. So there's some like speedrunning there, but yeah.
It all makes the moment-to-moment gameplay rock solid. At the end of the day, that's by far the most important thing. Also, keep in mind, this is all from the perspective of someone who's played way too much Elden Ring and Dark Souls. If you're coming into this without ever having played Elden Ring, all of this will be entirely new. And honestly, I think that could be a fantastic way to experience the game.
Sure.
And I want to repeat that I really do appreciate that this game exists. It's an experimental game from a AAA company that I love. The practice of handing the keys over to new directors to make something weird and lower budget is depressingly uncommon in the AAA space. And while Nightreign might not be the best example of something truly experimental by FromSoft, it's a step in a direction that I'm open to, especially in the context of it being a spin-off game before the next major title. Between this game and the Duskbloods, I do understand why some FromSoft fans are doomer-pilled, even if I disagree. They view FromSoft as one of the good guys, making consistently good solo experiences in a sea of live service flops and cash grabs, and they worry that games like Nightreign or the Duskbloods signal a turn away from that consistency. However, I'm not that cynical, and I think FromSoft has earned more than enough goodwill to at least hear them out. Even though Nightreign disappointed me in some respects, I really did have fun, and I plan on playing even more of it with other friends who had to wait until launch day. Anyway, that's it for my thoughts on this game. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you guys later.
Thank you, Iron Pineapple. Good video. Let's go to the IGN video. Let's check out this bad boy. How many dislikes does it have?
Elden
Not that many. Okay. That's surprising for an IGN review.
Ring Nightreign is a weird one. It takes the foundation of one of the best open world RPGs.
When's my character guide dropping? Maybe tomorrow. Unironically, despite my meme about saying everything is tomorrow. Might be tomorrow. I gotta work on it today. I think my next video is going to be like a guide of like solo play. I might just like do a run after this stream. I'll just do like a pretty live commentary solo run. I'll win, whatever, and I'll probably just upload it. So like you get to see my thought process as to how I approach the solo play, and you get to see like the entire run span out. I'll probably do it against the Libra boss as well. I don't know how I rank the characters, honestly. I have to think about it a lot. Like, they're all pretty balanced for the most part, so. What do you think about, well, there's the final Night Lord? I talked about it in my recent video. I think is fucking amazing. I'm not gonna, like, I can't talk about it much because, you know, spoilers and stuff, and I signed an NDA, so. How much was Ariandel? Money? Yeah, about $15, I think it was, yeah.
Of a generation and turns it into not just a roguelite where death is even more of a big deal.
I didn't play with any of the IGN dudes, though. I could have played with all of them. Because, like, they're all, like, in this massive server, and people, like, need a third. And for the most part, I was like, not bothered. I played with some randoms. Like, a couple, like, journalists and stuff that I played with, some reviewers. But yeah, for the most part, I played with Vardy a lot. Like, the first like, couple days I played with Vardy, and I played with his editors. Then I played with Iron Pineapple a couple runs. And I played with Rusty as well.
But a 3-person co-op focused roguelite. And in many ways, that strange experimental concoction is a success. Under the right conditions, Nightraign's 45-ish minute runs are positively thrilling.
It's the best weapon for blood tax. But either the Great Katana with an occult infusion or Sword Lance bleed.
They are packed with surprising encounters, challenging decisions, satisfying opportunities for teamwork, and some of the best boss battles From Software has ever come up with. And that's a very high bar. The big problem, however, is that those right conditions are far more difficult to create than they should be. You really need to have a consistent squad of similarly skilled players that are able to devote hours at a time in order to see what makes Nightraign special. And when you don't, the flaws of its design are magnified tenfold. There is excellence in this Elden Ring spin-off, but it's excellence that's just a little bit tarnished.
Pun intended. The OST hits so hard. Like, the music is so good in this game. Like it always is.
Let's get the most.
No hard feelings in me and Rusty? No, we just. But I don't know. No one. We never have a problem with each other. But I actually, because he was sitting in the voice chat by himself, like, you know, I'm gonna join on Rusty, and I joined him and was like, what's going on? We just talked for a bit. Played a couple games. Don Crux, thank you for the follow. Am I allowed to say if the menu theme is a boss theme? Maybe. I don't want to spoil anything.
Important caveat out of the way. If you are hoping to tackle Nightraign entirely solo, and are anything less than a hardcore Elden Ring player that actively seeks out ways to make that already difficult game even more challenging, Nightraign isn't for you. Yes, there is technically a single player option, but it's so poorly balanced that I would be honestly shocked if it isn't patched and adjusted within the first month of release. And this is coming from someone who lives and breathes these types of games. To understand why, we first need to go over what Nightraign even is. On a very basic level, this is a roguelite
Answer
that
my
takes place
question. What is it? Is the final boss better solo or multiplayer? It was fun for both. I mean, I did it my first time multiplayer, and it was fun. Then I did it against solo, and I was like, damn, it's great.
an island called Limveld, which is kind of like a melting pot of Elden Ring's environments, enemies, bosses, and structures. The general flow of a run is split up into a 3-day cycle. On days 1 and 2...
Is it okay if I play with my friends on Xbox when I have a PlayStation? You cannot do that. There is no crossplay. Does the deluxe edition get you a character or something special? I think the deluxe edition gives you the DLC, which the DLC is like releases later this year, so...
It's all about farming gear, defeating bosses, and leveling up so that you're as prepared as possible when you face off against one of the 8 extremely difficult Nightlord bosses on day 3. It's a great formula, and while you might think that the mostly static map would get old after a while, there's a good amount of procedural generation on every run that mixes up the location of just about every point of interest, requiring you to plan out a unique route on each new attempt. On top of that, there are also random events like boss raids, summoning portals, and other wild occurrences that inject a heavy level of chaos every once in a while. Efficiency is key because you are on a very strict time limit, with a battle royale-esque circle that constricts at set points throughout the day, eventually shrinking to the size of a small battlefield and setting the stage for a boss battle that ends the night. It is immediately obvious that Nightreign was designed with a 3-player squad in mind. Enemy encampments that don't require you to fight a single boss will instead have you spread out to take down 3 tough enemies. Basic encounters against 5 or more enemies that would be trivial with 3 players become costly time wasters when you're on
Any boss is harder than Malekith? I don't know, maybe. I don't know. It's kind of tough to decide. Like, I don't think many of the bosses had like mix-ups, so like some like harder, like some attacks that were pretty challenging to dodge, but like they weren't that complicated though, if that makes sense. And they hit pretty hard too. Like a big part of it is like the setup. Like if you just make a decent build like, where you can like tank attacks and do decent damage, like they're not going to be that bad. Fick and Zebra, thank you for the follows.
your own. And the new Nightlord bosses all seem explicitly designed with having allies in mind, and I'm not sure how I would even approach several of them by myself. Nightreign at least scales up your damage when you're alone, but it doesn't change any of these fundamental design decisions in any way that would make solo play more reasonable.
I mean, there is, but whatever. I talked about it in my solo review video, but yeah. Cool critical attack.
But the biggest issue is that co-op partners are able to revive
You can break that thing? I never knew you could break that thing. Interesting. I always like run away from it. I was like, whatever. That's a big bum.
each other when someone goes down, but you've only got 1 life to live against bosses when you're out on your own. That's generally the case in roguelites, but usually there's some sort of safety net that you can fall back on. For example, Hades has Death Defiances, and part of the progression of that game allows you to work towards unlocking more of them with every run. Returnal has artifacts that you can find that give you extra lives, rewarding you for being more thorough in your exploration. Spelunky has shortcuts that allow you to skip the early stages to get practice on the enemies, traps, and bosses that you only have limited experience with. The list goes on, but Nightreign has virtually nothing to make up for the fact that solo players lose access to that crucial revival option. There is an item that will resurrect you once with half of your life, but it's limited to the highest rarity tier, meaning you have to choose it over a legendary weapon if one does appear as a reward.
I don't think he knows that you can actually buy them off merchants, guaranteed. You can actually buy them off merchants, guaranteed.
Similarly, you may find them in a shop, but they
okay.
cost a substantial amount of runes.
That's not a substantial amount of runes. It's only 10,000. Like, the weapons are more expensive. Like, but at this, like, he has 17,000 already. I don't know.
That you could instead use to level up. Either
That's at level, like, if you buy him in the second day, like the first day, it doesn't matter. You're probably not going to buy him anyway. If you die in the first day boss, whatever, just start again. But you buy this in the second day, and like at level 9, it takes about like 40,000 runes to level up. I think roughly about that much. It's like 30 to 40,000 about like level 9 and 10. So yeah, 10,000 is not that much. And like when you kill like the final day 2 boss, he'll give you like 100,000 runes. So probably more so. They should just give solo players 2 revives as a passive. Yeah, I don't know why that wasn't a passive and just like an item instead. That's kind of a weird decision, but I don't know.
either way, it's just not a solution that makes up for the crippling detriment of not having someone to revive you if you go down. None of this is to say that solo play is outright impossible.
And the thing is, like, when you die, like the biggest challenge is when you die outside of a boss, right? Because you just automatically like D-level, which is not the worst thing because your runes will be there and actually does compensate for some of the runes that you lost via that level. So you can like level up again anyway. Still not the worst thing in the world, but yeah.
I've had a few successful runs on my own, just that the balancing of solo play feels like a job half finished. And as a result, the frustration of playing alone wasn't worth the triumph for me to have any desire to play it more without a squad. Nightreign's saving grace is that when you do have a squad of 3 people who all know what they're doing, communicate well, and are generally pretty skilled at Elden Ring, it really is a lot of fun. The central idea of taking an entire game's worth of progression and condensing it into a 40-minute run is a strong one. Going from cutting down rats with a basic weapon to culling Elden Ring's most fearsome bosses with a badass armament that you may or may not have gotten to use in the main game is one of the coolest and most satisfying parts.
Unfortunately, it is post to nerf Envoy's Longhorn, so
80 plus hours of character growth condensed into less than an hour and shot straight into your veins. Dropping into a run the first couple of times is certainly overwhelming, mostly because of the amount of information on the minimap you have to process, but at least FromSoft keeps the inventory and stat management very simple. Level ups are automatic, letting you press a button at a site of grace to automatically level your class's preferred stats. And as far as weapon stats go, all you have to worry about here is the damage number, the elemental affinity, the passive bonus you get simply for having the weapon in your inventory, and the weapon skill that comes along with it. This meant when I had a choice between 3 rewards, I was able to very quickly make a judgment on what I needed at that moment and continue on my way.
is Devour Scepter actually useful? I mean, it's usable if you get it, because it does good damage, because it's purple rarity, but the skill sucks still. I think there was like a passive that gives you like just health on kills there, which is cool. You just have it on your offhand. Wilder or Iron Eye? I think Iron Eye is the best character in the game.
Eventually, I started to understand what rewards were offered at which camps, which ones were quick and could be cleared before the circle closed in,
But Wilder's
which
right
ones
there
I should
too.
do
You can
only
make
if
a
I had a
case.
lot of extra time, what level I should attempt certain roaming bosses, and which bosses I should absolutely avoid unless my team was really confident in our builds. Exploring these areas can be
Basically, avoid gargoyles the entire time. Never bother. If you see a gargoyle as a field boss, don't even fucking bother. Unless like there's no other options available to you. That's my pro fucking tip right there. Because gargoyles are annoying, they take forever to kill, and they're also immune to status effects, which most people are going to be running, so.
more frustrating than it needs to be, thanks to a new wall climbing ability that just feels straight up bad. Especially when it takes 3 attempts to jump over what looks like should be an easily scalable wall.
Sometimes it's fine, yeah, it feels like that's, yeah, it happens sometimes. Like, most of the time, the jumping is good, but there's very specific times, like, come on now.
As you're trying to escape from the encroaching circle. But learning the ins and outs of the map helped my efficiency and led to a very satisfying feeling of skill progression that wasn't tied to the actual progression system that offers
Yes, Nightreign
persistent
does have a
improvements
final
between
boss.
attempts.
There is a final boss, and it does definitely feel like a final boss, and there's an ending cutscene and all that stuff, yeah. Very much final boss-like. I will do a hot takes video eventually. I kind of wanted to do another one before Nightreign came out, but I was so busy playing the game, so. Old Tricky, thank you for the follow.
That system is
How
tied
does Revenant stack up compared to the rest of them? She's good. Really good ult and passive and stuff. The skills like is useful. I think she's better for team play due to her like lower HP pool and is reliant on actually just getting more FP and stuff. So probably having characters or other allies drop starlight shards for you and stuff.
to relics that can be won after completing a run. Whether you win or lose, you still get relics, but the better you perform, the better the quality and quantity of relics you earn. These can be equipped before a run and impart stat bonuses, starting skills or elemental affinities for your initial weapon, buffs for performing certain actions, and in some cases, they can even improve the skills of a specific class. When you're just starting out, these bonuses are hardly noticeable and too random to really
Final boss is a Pontiff and PCR ripoff? No. Nothing of the sort. I don't know.
make any sort of compelling build from, but eventually, with enough runs under your belt, you'll get some powerful relics that can really start to have an effect on your power level in a run. That said, there should really be more of an element of choice with regards to the meta progression, or at least a way to control some of the randomness. There are a small selection of relics that you
I don't
can
think
buy
it's a
at the
rip-off
jar
for
shop
anybody.
inside your base before
It's
runs,
pretty original by
and there
FromSoft
are
standards.
set relic rewards for being Night Lord bosses and completing class-specific objectives called remembrances, but other than that, you're completely at the mercy of the RNG gods when it comes to what relics you get. It can be really annoying when you're looking to strengthen your preferred class.
Why did they just add wall climbing animations? Yeah, like a grapple, like grab it to the top. I mean, it does kind of work like that, but with Sekiro, there's very specific types of areas you can grapple onto. Whereas in Elden, you can grapple onto basically anything, and that's what kind of makes it more inconsistent. Right?
And you keep getting relics that just don't do anything for you.
But having like a reaching jump or whatever would be pretty cool. Yeah, I'll do some runs with chat, yeah.
One of the biggest departures
You can actually like grapple midair as well. Like after you're doing a spirit spring jump, is jump in, you can just grapple onto something and pull yourself. It's pretty cool.
compared to what we're used to from Elden Ring is that the classes are now actual classes, with unique skills and gameplay styles, as opposed to soft classes that just determine your starting stats and weapons. And the 8 options are varied and well defined, with even the most basic archetypes having some interesting twists to them. The Wilder, for instance, is the general jack of all trades, but also has access to a nifty grappling hook that can be used to pull weak enemies towards you, zip yourself towards larger enemies, or simply zoom you around the field at high speeds if you aim it on the ground. In addition to the basic fighter, mage, and ranger archetypes, you also have a few completely unique choices that don't fit into any pre-existing mold. One of the most interesting classes is the Executor, whose main skill has you pulling out a unique sword with a Sekiro-like parrying mechanic tied to it. Basically, by blocking attacks with proper timing, you completely negate damage, don't lose any stamina, and reduce the enemy's own stamina, potentially opening them up for a critical hit. It's a very risky class, especially in a game where missing a parry can mean almost certain death, and it feels like the offensive power of the Sekiro sword is a little too weak to justify the risk of the parries, but I appreciate this inclusion nonetheless as both a nod to Sekiro and a completely different way to approach combat. As mentioned, each of the classes has a remembrance tied to them, which is essentially a collection of journal entries that chronicle the story of how they wound up in Limveld and their purpose for being there. It's a far cry from the rich lore that we're used to in FromSoft games, but at least each of the remembrances has a handful of playable chapters that have you completing specific objectives in order to earn powerful relics. As well,
What about the executor parry system stuck to the Bun's katana? I guess katana because of Sekiro, I guess. I don't know. Good old Sekiro reference. And they've already had the animation for the Sekiro deflect, right? So I guess I just put it in there, maybe. How hard is the final boss? Not that challenging, honestly.
well as a healthy amount of
But he's like challenge. He's like pretty much average when it comes to Night Lord difficulty.
runes to help you level up during the actual run itself. Almost all of Nightreign
What would you rank Raider and Revenant on a tier list? I don't know. Like they're all good. Like they're all like A tier, you know? Like I don't know. Like I don't think one's like just a definite better one than the other ones, right? Like they're all pretty good in their own right. I gotta play with them more and maybe like find a more just I don't know. We'll find something out. Vagabond, thank you for the follow. Executor has better item drop. No, the Iron Eye gets more drops as a passive, but yeah, no.
is made up of
Hardest boss, maybe Libra, maybe.
existing Elden Ring parts, but there are a few surprise bosses that are pulled from the Dark Souls series as well. But the 8 Night Lords are brand new, and oh boy, they're almost all unlike any boss FromSoft has ever designed before. Many of them are clearly inspired by MMO boss battles, with a number of party-wiping attacks that must be stopped or interrupted before they get a chance to finish their preparation. Others are designed
There are some pretty cool. Yeah, Libra is a pretty cool boss fight.
to split the party up into roles to either hold aggro or press the assault, and some are just designed to be all-out wars against absurdly aggressive foes.
He's actually really cool. He's probably a second for a boss fight.
They're almost all bangers, with only one of them being a dud, due to the best strategy simply being hanging
Yeah, that's the same opinion. I just don't care for this boss much. It's like an even more boring Elden Beast.
back and pelting them with arrows for what felt like an hour. Still, 7 out of 8 is still pretty great.
You actually can proc Scarlet Rot on this enemy, by the way. Which is weird. I don't know why. You can't proc Poison, but you can proc Rot.
Especially when those 7 are among the best From Software has ever created, with excellent accompanying
What
soundtrack
boss would you like to be added? Like for like a Dark Souls boss, you mean, or?
to match. I don't want to spoil them too much, but the fight against the Fisher and the Fog boss in particular is so good it gave me goosebumps all throughout.
Some of these attacks I don't even know how to fucking dodge, like, honestly. Oh, that's right. There actually is a, there's like a... Fuck. There's like a Millennia Great Rune as like a relic. It's not like that, it's not as powerful as Millennia's Great Rune, but like, you know, it's the Bloodborne rally mechanic. You have it as a relic. He actually has it equipped. I forgot about that thing existing.
But the creativity of those bosses once again shines a light on the Eldritch Elephant in the room. They only really work as a team, and by far the 2 biggest issues facing Nightreign right now are, 1, the shocking
But not as powerful as the Great Rune. I mean, like when you get, I mean, Millennia's Great Rune is actually pretty good. It's just a Great Rune, so like you have to go to the end of the game to get it, and then equip it, and then use the fucking Rune Arc to activate it, like, right? But the Rune Arc itself was actually, and it has to compare with, you know, Radahn's Great Rune and stuff, but the buff itself was actually pretty decent.
lack of crossplay and 2, the absence of a duos playlist. If you play as a duo, you will be forced to fill the third player with matchmaking. It is simply a lot to ask of a group of 3 people who all must have purchased the $40 game, play on the same platform, be of a similarly matched skill to be able to handle the extreme challenge of the day 3 bosses, have the time
It's still bugged. Gordo and Lonely, thank you for the follow. When are they gonna fix the geezer's wheel?
to devote 45 minutes per run, and also can agree on fighting the same boss that they may or may not need to beat for their own individual progression. There is a decent pinging system that at least makes it possible for light communication with a group of randos, but there's no built-in voice chat, which makes nuance like trying to communicate that your group should hit the basement of the castle instead of the front or side entrance virtually impossible. It's just a night and day difference when you're able to group up with a squad that communicates well and knows what they're doing versus when you've got one that doesn't listen to you or just constantly makes bad
This is why I feel like there should have been like just pre-made text messages, be like follow me or like boss over here type shit, and have like the characters actually say them out loud.
decisions, especially with no way to vote to cancel or quit out of a run without penalty. That makes the prospect of random matchmaking on the live servers pretty unappealing. When Elden Ring Nightreign is played exactly as it was designed to be played, it's one of the finest examples of a 3-player co-op game around. The 8 character classes are each fun to use and feature a surprising amount of depth despite their limited movesets. The new Night Lord boss battles are among the best FromSoft has ever.
The skyboxes are so cool. What's a general method to do decently well with a 2-hand stone guy? Name is the Executioner. I mean, this guy right here, he's the Raider. The Executor is the Katana man. How is the wheel bugged? Against like larger bosses, like your character like bugs out and like it moves like a slideshow, and the wheel spins like super slowly. Like you can tell because you can see the movements of your character. It's only happening like against larger bosses. The skill just does that way. But against smaller enemies, it puts in a lot of work. But when you're fighting larger bosses with the geezer's wheel, this is like the one-handed heavy attacks because like it spins in place and does like insane bleed build up, and actually works with the multi-hit talismans, unlike the skill. What do you think about the Wilder? Can he wield the greatsword? I mean, all the characters can wield any weapons. And the Wilder gets like the best quality scaling in the game. So he's basically good with like any weapon. You can use basically anything. He gets a slightly better strength scaling than dexterity scaling. So like using like a greatsword is obviously best. Or like a spear, great spear. They do pretty well. Like, yeah, just you're good with anything with the Wilder. You just pick the one that just has that gets the most damage. You just look at the damage numbers and just pick it up. Between Wilder and Guardian, they're both really good, and they're both quality based, so similar. But yeah, Wilder's like is obviously more aggressive. You can grapple hook and stuff, but you still like decent health and stamina and stuff. But yeah, Guardian gets the most health and stamina, but like still gets less damage and a worse dodge as well, and slower than Wilder. And his skill's a bit more for support though. His skill and ultimate more for support. How good is the music? Very good. Very comparable to like Elden Ring and Dark Souls 3 and stuff. Like it's up there with like the Shadow of the Erdtree music.
Ever crafted and make the most of the 3-player.
Yeah, Executor is fun solo. Yeah, and I think like the best part about his kit is just the fact that he could just do like gets really good scaling, so he's good damage and his ultimate. I think his like deflecting ability is too niche, and in multiplayer I just don't care for it. I'll talk about it in tomorrow's video.
Player dynamic and
The dodging is different for every character. Yeah, like the Guardian gets like a hunter dash, but it's like super like it's not as doesn't go as far. And someone like the Duchess also gets the same dash, but it just goes further and has like a longer animation. And like the Recluse like floats in the air with her dodge. So like they all have a slightly different dodge and like sprinting speeds and stuff. I think the sprinting speeds are slightly different. It looks different. Maybe it's just the animations. Where would you rank it with a Souls series? I mean, they're not really comparable, right? Like, like those are like classic masterpieces. This is just like a spin-off. What does the Harp character do? The Revenant is like a necromancer. She can like summon enemies that she kills with her passive, and then she like spawns in like she can do like summon spirits and stuff. And she can like revive enemies too with her ultimate. Yeah. And she's like more of a faith-based character as well.
and the fast-paced race against the clock nature of each run.
Any character with no armor skin like the Raider. Like this skin right here. Kind of like looks like Horaloo. Could have given him a Horaloo skin. Wasn't it Elden Ring skins? Whatever. I don't think so, no. I think this one's part of his quest line though, so you have to finish his quest line to get this.
Leads to exciting moments of split-second
Nah, Raider's pretty
decision-making
good.
and frantic.
The thing is, like, sometimes
just
when you're using
try-
a skill, it does, like, this headbutting attack, which is, like, okay. But, like, it's obviously best when you do, like, the fully charged attack. But it happens only when you get, like, hit sometimes. I got super inconsistent. I don't really get it myself. But it's, like, it serves as, like, endure. You can tank so much damage. So, like, if there's an attack that's about to come out that you know you just don't know how to fucking dodge, I just click the button and you just tank it. And actually do some decent stance damage back. And the skill's okay. The skill's definitely better for co-op and stuff, to use it as cover for your allies. But there are like buffs to where like when you stand next to it, you can get like more damage and stuff. So
Try to finish up a fight before the circle closes in, but a lack of crossplay.
could we tie it to knockback? There's times that I've done it where like I haven't even gotten hit though. Like I've gotten the fully charge attack off. I don't know. I gotta look into it more.
Duo matchmaking and built-in communication tools makes
I
it
don't like the moveset that he gets with some of the weapons though. Like the colossal weapon moveset's pretty slow.
hard to create the conditions needed to have this kind of experience unless you're bringing
Watch the
two
grab
real-life
attack.
friends on every run. And if you want to just play by yourself,
Cooked.
I can't recommend it because of the poor solo mode balance.
One thing I didn't even mention in my review that I should have mentioned is the when you dodge into grab attacks, it does like a McKitty counter. I don't know. I forgot to mention that. So like when a grab attack is coming, it has like this lightning effect. And you dodge into it, and it does like a bit of stance damage, and it gives you some ultimate charge as well. So it's kind of like the equivalent of a McKitty counter. And it's for every single grab attack. So that's why like when you see enemies in Nightreign do a grab attack, it like lights up purple. And that means you can like, it's a visual indicator to dodge in towards it. Yeah, like the Hippo. And it's actually easier to dodge as well. So like the Hippo grab attack is actually much easier to dodge. You just dodge straight into it. It does this like unique front flip animation. It's pretty cool. And it gives you some ultimate charge and does some stance damage. I can't believe I forgot to mention it.
balancing. All of this amounts to an ambitious spin-off that's exhilarating when you're able to create the proper conditions, and one that quickly flips to incredibly frustrating when you're not.
Executive Reviews editor Tom
What's this?
here with Mitchell Saltzman to talk about his review of Elden Ring Nightreign. Mitchell, you reviewed both Elden Ring and the Shadow of the Erdtree DLC.
Is Nightreign going to be as a solo player? Assuming you have a lot of hours into the game first and experience and stuff, then you'll be okay. I'd definitely recommend playing it multiplayer first.
And gave both of them 10s, so big fan of both of those. I want to talk first about Elden Ring and what you loved about it, because you don't go into that a ton in the review, but it is what sort of is the basis of what makes this game still...
What the hell is this? Why is there an interview after the... I don't know. Whatever. How's the game with friends but no voice chat? The game without voice chat is... It's kind of annoying sometimes, but like, I don't know, it can be pretty funny. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. Anyway, that's that. That is that. Menace, thank you for the follow. Avoiding my questions. What was your question? I'm sorry. Does Recluse have elemental cocktail problems with teammates that use elemental damage? What do you mean? Like, whatever the boss gets hit with last is the one that you end up consuming. So, like, so you're saying that if enemies are constantly, or if your allies are constantly spamming, then you end up getting the wrong element that you wanted? Like, yeah, that could be a problem, I guess, but, he's got to play around it somehow. I know, you can just hope for the best. Just whatever element they have, just, like, suck it up, and then just whatever that you get is what you get. Like, trying to aim for a specific thing is going to be, like, pretty much impossible. Especially if you're doing randoms. The Libra Demon mechanic kind of forces you to play co-op, though. Which one? Like, the one where you have to shoot those sigils and stuff? You actually can use the ultimate to, like, cancel it. Or, like, use madness damage, so... I've done it a handful of times. But I might do it now, though. We're going to end the stream here. I want to go play the game. I'll do like a solo run, and I'll probably just post it as a video. I'll do like some live commentary. I'll do like the Libra boss fight as well. Just like a whole run. I'll probably just play the Wilder or whatever the fuck. Just someone basic. So yeah. We'll be on tomorrow to play Nightreign. So that'd be pretty cool. We can finally live stream it tomorrow. That'd be fun. So yeah, hope you guys have a wonderful day. Is Libra weak to madness? No, he's weaker to madness. Yeah, I think you hit him with it and it might stagger him out of that whole like meditating thing. If I had to guess, it probably is for that. So yeah. Anyway, catch you guys around.